It was raining heavily on the streets of the city through which Chang Song ran. Thunder roared, and he continued to run to his grandfather and said that he should wait for him. He was almost there. His tears mixed with the rain, but he continued to run. When he was 14 years old, his parents went on a long trip. But a terrible accident happened and they both died. Even though he lost both parents, none of his relatives wanted to take him in. He thought he was left alone, but his grandfather took him in. That day he patted him on the head and said that they didn't need him, but his grandfather needed him. Little Chang Song cried and hugged his grandfather, and he told him not to cry. His grandfather raised him. Although he was of advanced age, he never succumbed to trials. Then he became ill and went to the hospital. That day, Chang Song looked worriedly at his grandfather through the window in the door of the hospital room, and relatives told Chang Song that his grandfather had a stroke. He can no longer stay with them. His aunt said that she and his uncle needed to take care of their children, so they had no way to raise him. His uncle said that next week he would go to his school and talk about a new place to live. Naturally, Chang Song understood that his uncle and aunt did not want to raise him. He agreed, and then they began to extort his parents' debts from him. Some guy grabbed him by the clothes and asked him. He didn't think that since his parents died, he wouldn't have to pay off their debt. Then Chang Song replied that his dad and mom borrowed 100,000 from them and they had already paid it off. Is not it? The guy asked. Has he never heard of percentages or what? Chang Song answered fearfully that his parents had already paid the interest. Then the guy looked at him irritably and hit him in the face, exclaiming, he doesn't know how to read, or what? His parents borrowed 100,000 yuan for 3 months. Now let him listen carefully. His parents had to pay 230,000 yuan. Did he understand? This means he will return exactly the same amount. He gives him 3 days, or he will add interest for this month. If he does not repay the debt in 3 days, then he will already owe 300,000. Chang Song now lived alone. After all, who would want to shelter a debtor? Currently, he ran to his relative's house and said that it was him, Chang Song. He had returned. Let them open. The door opened and his cousin told him to come in. Chang Song ran into the house and saw his relative sitting around his grandfather's body. His uncle turned around and asked, is he back at last? Cousin Chang Song said that he knew he would return. Chang Song froze in front of his grandfather's body and his relative said that he had returned to start dividing the money. They left the room and his brother said goodbye, that maybe grandpa died because of him. Chang Song was left alone with his dead grandfather and did not say a word. He felt a hand on his head and looked up, seeing the image of his grandfather in front of him. He called out to him and tears flowed from his eyes. Then his grandfather told him not to be sad. He knows how hard it is for him. Let him not worry about these words. Happiness will definitely come to him. Nothing passes without a trace. It's not in vain that they say that there is always a reward for good and punishment for evil. If he can hold this kindness in his heart, then one day he will definitely receive the treasure that belongs to him. Chang Song bowed to his grandfather goodbye and agreed with his words. Some time has passed since the death of his grandfather. Chang Song worked as a waiter in a club. He entered the room and put wine glasses on the table and told the visitors that this was the alcohol they ordered. Let them call him if they need anything else. The guy said that he should get out of here already. Chang Song headed towards the exit and the guy told Brother Wang that he had found him a great girl. She is very beautiful and also a schoolgirl, light velvet skin, and the legs are what you need. He tied her up in the dressing room. If he wants, he can show you where. Chang Song heard their conversation and sighed heavily, and then closed the door behind him and thought that he deals with such idiots every day, it won't take long for him to go crazy. They are no different from the bastard who collects debts. This collector has absolutely nothing to do. All he does is pester different people. He even splattered paint all over his yard. In the end, he promised him to return 350,000 in 2 months, and he left him for a while. 350,000 in 2 months. He's definitely gone crazy. Suddenly his colleague touched his shoulder and asked, did he deliver the orders? It is Chang Song's friend Zhang Xiang who brought him to this bar. Chang Song confirmed his words and said that he received only 200 yuan for them, which is like a drop in the bucket. Zhang Xiang patted him on the head and said that little things add up to a fortune. And he's good looking, so if he approaches women more often, he'll get more tips from them. Chang Song replied that he could not. Zhang Xiang said that he went to work, but he better listen to his friend's advice. After all this is for his own good. He laughed, but Chang Song remained silent and Zhang Xiang began to leave, but finally said that let him remember about women. Chang Song replied that he would try. He heard footsteps coming from the room and suddenly the guy opened the door with his feet. Chang Song was surprised and thought, what is going on here? The guy told Brother Wang that he needed to come here. Ban said that he would be in trouble if he didn't like her, because he had seen a lot of girls. The guy smiled and told him not to worry, he would really like her. They laughed and Chang Song thought they were a bunch of idiots. The club worker called out to Chang Song and hugged him to her chest, saying that she seemed to have drunk too much. Can he go to the dressing room and bring her purse? Chang Song called her Xiao Lings and asked why she was hanging on to him again. This is indecent, another girl asked, but he hasn't realized yet that she likes him. Is he afraid that someone will see? Chang Song is so innocent. Lings lowered her hand and told Chang Song that he should let his little sister know how little Song was doing. Chang Song immediately pulled away from her and ran to the dressing room, saying that he would bring her bag right away. The girls laughed and said it was so cute. Chang Song walked along the corridors and began to grumble, bring this, bring that. Why does she pester him so much every time? Sooner or later he will pay them for it. Suddenly he accidentally bumped into a guy and he turned around sharply, calling him an idiot, and told him to open his eyes wider. Chang Song smiled awkwardly and asked for forgiveness, and then he noticed something and it made his eyes widen. In the dressing room he saw a girl. Her mouth was tied and tears were flowing from her eyes. The guy called out to Chang Song and asked what he was staring at. Let him leave here already. His friend entered the dressing room and the guy laughed and told Chang Song to get out of here. He closed the door in his face and the guy asked his friend, "She's pretty, right?" And he was worried. Van laughed and the girl began to moo, trying to call for help. She thought, will no one come to save her? Van licked his lips and said that he didn't want anyone to accidentally see what he was about to do. His friend said let him enjoy it. After that, he headed towards the exit and Van jerked closer to the girl and told her not to worry so much. He would be very gentle. She got scared and begged him not to do it. Friend Wang came out of the room and saw Chang Song right in front of him and got scared. He asked why he was still here. Chang Song ignored his question and asked what was going on there. The guy asked in response, what does he think? He closed the door behind him and lit a cigarette, asking, what is it? Does he want to look? Pervert or what? They don't advise him to go there. Brother Wang is not the one he should mess with. The girl began to beg Van not to touch her. Her father. Van began to take off his pants and interrupted her by saying that her father was not here, so they can just have a little fun. He smiled and then pushed her on the floor and said that he would probably start already. The girl started screaming for help and Chang Song stood outside the room and heard it all. He thought that if he didn't save this girl in the dressing room, then she might not recover from this. However, he cannot protect himself from the collector, and this guy inside will be worse than the collector. He remembered his grandfather's words that it is not in vain that they say that there is always a reward for good and punishment for evil. For his kindness he will definitely receive the treasure that belongs to him. Chang Song thought that she clearly had a bright future. He headed inside the dressing room and the guy, noticing this, asked, is he a complete idiot? Where is he going? Chang Song said that he would not let them take away the bright future that he would never have. He grabbed the guy by the arm and then threw him to the floor and burst into the dressing room. At that moment something seemed to click in his head. He didn't know why he rushed there because she had nothing to do with him. Perhaps it was all because of the very kindness his grandfather spoke of. He threw a fire extinguisher at Van and told them all to go to hell. The girl looked at Chang Song in fear and he shouted, what is she waiting for? Let her run away from here. She rose to her feet and Van tried to hold her back by grabbing her leg. The girl broke free and ran out of the dressing room and the girl turned around and said that she would bring help. She ran down the corridor and other visitors began to wonder what was happening there. It seems Mr. Wang has gone there. One of the visitors asked, is he on his way again? At this time, the guy recovered and asked Chang Song how dare he throw him to the floor. Is he tired of living? He took a knife out of his pocket and Chang Song said that they were just idiots and scum. Is he threatening him with a knife? Well, let it work. At that same second he felt a sharp pain and saw a sharp blade sticking out of his chest. Van stabbed him with this knife. He became very angry and told him to die. His friend got scared and said that he killed him. He had nothing to do with it. He didn't want this. Chang Song fell to his knees and his blood fell and drops onto the floor. He completely lost his strength and thought, is it all going to end like this? Is this how his life will end? He continued to bleed and Van rose to his feet and his friend fearfully said that he had nothing to do with it. Van said let him look for the girl. They can't let her escape or they'll both end up in hell. The guy looked at him dumbfounded and Van shouted, what is he worth? He needs to be faster. The guy ran out of the room and Chang Song mentally laughed, thinking, good people will definitely get treasures, right? Although there is something good in this, he will finally be able to meet his grandfather. But suddenly he opened his eyes and found himself among the clouds. He stood up and was suddenly very surprised, asking what is this? In front of him he saw system windows with an error and thought, what does this all mean? System windows surrounded him, and then a bright flash appeared and Chang Song thought, what again? He closed his eyes a little and from this bright flash the image of a naked girl began to appear. She put on her clothes and looked down when she saw Chang Song. Chang Song looked at her and thought, is this a person? What kind of place is this anyway? The girl looked at him with some strange expression on her face and he thought, why did she suddenly make such a face? The girl folded her arms over her chest and asked, does that mean he signed a contract with her? Chang Song thought, why is she speaking in such a tone? He feels uneasy. She asked if she had come across a dumb guy or what. At that moment she thought, why did he appear so suddenly? She didn't even have time to put on makeup and change clothes. And this is also a guy. She hasn't spoken to men for 1,000 years. If she is embarrassed and stutters now, he will hate her. That's why she has to pretend to be arrogant. She coughed into her fist and Chang Song asked, did she just call him stupid? She said there was nothing to be done about it. From now on he is her master and she is his immortal spirit, Hua King. It will take a lot of time to explain all the subtleties. He can consider it his system. Chang Song asked, is she an immortal spirit? Does that mean he really died? Does this mean that all these oddities, including her, are his reward after death? She asked, reward. After that she threw him a sword and he got scared. This is the sword of the Xuandu immortal world, a god-level treasure. Chang Song sighed and shouted. Did she even hear what he said? She asked displeasedly why he suddenly shouted. Chang Song replied that he didn't mean to shout. He's just a little confused by what's happening. To be honest, he still doesn't understand what's going on here. He narrowed his eyes when he saw her throwing wealth in front of him and told him to take it all. She continued to pull jewelry out of the portal and said that there was also a star moon spear, a sun bow, and hybrid armor. There is also gold and precious stones. He can take all this. Is he happy now? Chang Song wanted to answer something, but she interrupted him and handed him the mirror, saying that he should take it. With the help of this mirror he can travel to the world of immortals and back, but he will have to deal with this on his own. Chang Song said that he was just too worried. Don't let her be so angry. Streams of energy began to circle around her and she formed into a bright flash and flew into Chang Song. He called out to her and asked where she was going. Let her at least tell you where to put all these things away. He looked at the enormous wealth in front of him and thought, where should he put it all? Suddenly a system window appeared in front of him, which informed him that the spatial storage had been activated. He can place objects there without restrictions and take them out at any time. Chang Seng said that sounds good. Now he can take all this stuff with him. He moved the wealth into storage and the system congratulated him on his first successful use of spatial storage. At this time, in the world of immortals, a girl was sitting in the palace. She looked at her reflection and her maid, calling her a saint, said that she should at least eat something. The saint replied that she was not in the mood. The maid apologized for her insolence and said that she had not eaten anything for a whole year. Even her immortal body can't stand it. The saint replied that she said she didn't want to. Suddenly she heard a crunch and exclaimed, is the mirror cracked? She quickly pulled away from the mirror and said with a smile that it had finally happened. Her maid said that it seemed that this mirror had been left to her by an immortal. The saint confirmed her words and said that the master said that the very moment this mirror breaks, the one who decides fate will appear. This means that Yunchui Palace has a glimmer of hope. Meanwhile, Chang Song looked at the sword and said that he doesn't even know how to use a sword. He's never fought before. But why didn't this sword go into storage? He imagined how he was walking around with this sword in the real world and thought that he wouldn't even be able to get on the subway with it. He ran his hand along the blade of the sword, and then light began to emanate from it and the system reported that he had acquired the art of the immortal sword skill. Chang Songwu was surprised and thought, has he acquired some skill again? Didn't he do it too easily? He heard something and turned around, thinking what was that noise? The sword began to ring and Chang Song looked at it in surprise. He thought, does this sword want him to fight? At the same moment, a fiery bird appeared behind him, which released flames at him and Chang Song thought, what is this all about? The bird opened its mouth and then Chang Song headed into a powerful stream of flame and he screamed in fear, trying to cover himself with his hands. But as soon as the flames approached him, a barrier appeared in front of him and Chang Song thought, did he block it? Hua King suddenly appeared in front of his face and told him to use his assessment skill to figure out what kind of bird it was. Chang Song was scared by her sudden appearance and she told him to hurry up. Chang Song agreed, and she returned back to his body and he used the assessment skill. The system window reported that in front of him was the shadow of Biffin, level 177, with energy 36,600, strength, endurance, and magic 2666 units. The chance of becoming immortal is 266, while Chang Song had the first level, energy 50, strength, endurance, and magic 10. The chance of becoming immortal is 1. Chang Song gritted his teeth and asked, is it level 177? Hua King confirmed his words and said that it was only level 177. Let him just swing his sword and cut it. Chang Song thought, should he cut it? Hua King said that he had mastered the art of the immortal sword, he had nothing to fear. Chang Song thought, is there anything to be afraid of? But for sure, he had already died. He needs to look his fears in the eye. He gripped the hilt of the sword tighter and felt the power emanating from it. He took the sword with his second hand and said that he would trust and fight it. Then he swung his sword, cutting down the bird, and said that this was incredible. The system reported that he had increased his level. Now he has level 100, energy 17,000, strength, endurance, and magic 15,000, and becoming immortal 147. From the recoil, Chang Song fell to the floor and the system reported that he received the feather and beak of Bifang's shadow, and he also received a shadow crystal. Chang Song asked, "Is it all over? What's happening? Why is his head so dizzy?" He lost consciousness, and meanwhile in the real world evening was falling. Chang Song opened his eyes and then abruptly stood up from the bed and was surprised. He scratched the back of his head and thought, is he in his rented apartment? It was a dream. He felt his body and said that his wound had disappeared, which means it really was a dream. He saw a mirror on the bedside table and, taking it in his hands, said that this was the same mirror from his dream. Hua King, who was applying lipstick, said that it was not a dream. Chang Song looked back and asked, "Who is it?" Hua King approached him and asked who else. The system congratulated Chang Song for completing the activation task. The rewards will be listed below. The gold of the immortals was automatically converted into the currency of this world. The system transferred the money to his account to make it more convenient for him to use it. A message arrived on Chang Song's phone and he picked it up to check his balance. He received a transaction notification and 1 million yuan was transferred to his account. He was very surprised and Hua King yawned and asked, he can't believe his eyes. By the way, she just awakened, so it will take time for her to gain her true power. So he will have to train well these few days so that she can recover and serve him for real. Let him work hard. After these words, she disappeared and Chang Song thought that with that kind of money he could finally get rid of his debts. At the same moment there was a knock on his door and the man asked if anyone was at home. Did they die there or what? He asked if anyone was home. Another man suggested that he just go there and take away everything valuable, it's their money. A group of collectors knocked down the door and saw Chang Song standing in front of them. The man was surprised and asked, so he didn't die. But they said that Wang Liu killed him, there were even witnesses. Another guy asked how he survived. There is not a single wound on him. This is not some kind of ghost. The collector said that since he was alive, let him pay then. If he doesn't pay today, they'll take everything he has. Although he got rid of Wang Liu the first time, he won't leave him a chance the second time. Chang Song said that he should tell his score. The man was surprised and Chang Song said that he would give them 350,000, not a penny less. So let them give him their account. The man asked in surprise, the bill. He handed him the phone and asked what happened to this guy. Chang Song transferred the required amount to his account and said that he had transferred everything. He thought that it was finally over. The man checked his balance and said that everything was correct. If this is some kind of trick, then he doesn't owe them anything anymore. But if he did deceive, they will get to everyone who is in any way connected with him. Chang Song replied that he had already received his money. Why panic so much? The man smiled and asked, did he borrow again to pay off the old one? He reached out to him with his hand and said that if he could not pay it off, then let him contact him, he would give him a discount. Chang Song pushed his hand away from him and told him not to touch him. The man smiled and told his friends that they were leaving. He thought it was so strange, this guy suddenly had money. Although it is not his business, he has earned a lot of money, that is enough. After the collectors left, Chang Song moved to a new home. He looked at the mirror and asked, so this mirror really allows him to travel to the world of immortals. He said that then let the mirror take him to the world of immortals. After that, a bright light began to emanate from the mirror, which blinded Chang Song and he found himself in a different place. He opened his eyes and saw a purple palace in front of him. He looked at the mirror and asked, so words alone are enough to activate the mirror. A system window appeared in front of him, which reported his characteristics and Chang Song asked, this is the system, right? Should this help him in exploring this world? The system reported that the system store was open. Does he want to look at the list of goods? Chang Song agreed and saw that he could sell the items he received. His current balance is 650,000. Chang Song thought, so this money works in both worlds. The points shown in the system match his bank account balance. In other words, as long as he has access to the system, he has money. He looked at the products and said that it seemed that the system's products were too expensive. In order to go beyond this palace and explore the world of immortals, he needs to be properly prepared. He changed his appearance and said that this is great, now he looks like an immortal master. He looked at the sword and said that this world is so amazing. He headed to the gate and said that since everything was ready, it was time for him to hit the road. Having finished his preparations, Chang Song set out on his journey through the world of immortals. On the first day he fought with animals that looked like porcupines. The battle was successful, but they managed to make a hole in his robe. On the second day, Chang Song tried to pick the fruit of immortality, which is why he was pursued by guardian beasts until midnight. On the third day, his attempt to escape ended with him accidentally falling into the river and swallowing a lot of water. After that, he couldn't even feel the spiritual veins inside him. On the fourth day, Chang Song fought a shadow gecko. In the process of fighting, he acquired new skills in camouflage, insight, and assessment. On the fifth day, thanks to the frescoes of monsters on the walls of the cave, Chang Song began to develop a picture of the world in which he found himself. On the 6th day, thanks to countless hours of mining, Chang Song was able to learn how to repair armor and patch up his robe. And then came the final day of Chang Song's adventure. He took a bite of the banana and lay down on his back, saying that now he at least had a basic understanding of this world. He heard something and headed towards the source of the sound, and then used the insight skill and thought that it was impossible. These are level 200 monsters, winged shadow wolves. He saw a crowd of people with the head and limbs of a wolf. Chang Song was scared and thought that if he tried, he could kill one, but there was a whole crowd of them there. If he is noticed, he is definitely dead. Let them not go here. They passed by his hiding place and Chang Song thought that thank God they didn't notice. It seems that these monsters were attracted to something else. The wolves continued to move forward and growled, surrounding the saint. At this time, Chang Song thought, what is going on there? The saint's maid sat behind her and called out to her, but she remained silent. In front of her was an opponent of level 200, with energy 42,200, strength, endurance and magic 3099, and the chance of becoming immortal was 288. She tensed and said that it is always so difficult with these wolves. The maid shouted that she should just leave them. She can escape without them. The saint told her to shut up. She herself knows what to do. After these words, she rushed at the monsters and the battle began. The maid looked at her and thought that the saint has always been so kind-hearted. First of all, she cares about others, and not about herself. When will she finally start thinking about herself? The saint waved her sword and told them all to die. She hit the wolf and thought that she had already killed several wolves, but this was only a drop in the ocean. Only a great elder can deal with them. If they can hold out until he arrives, they will be saved. She never would have thought that the Purple Palace area seemed so dangerous. She repelled the wolf's blow and thought that all this was to save their Yunshui Palace. The wolves surrounded them again and one of them attacked the saint, but she managed to dodge and pierce the monster with her sword. She caught her breath and her maid warned her about the danger below. The saint immediately looked down and cursed, and then she was struck and a huge hand grabbed her. She became worried and thought that her body was not moving. The maid called out to her, but at the same moment the wolves rushed at her and she managed to dodge, but still received a blow and they both fell exhausted to the ground. The wolf who grabbed the saint pointed his claws at her and she thought that she was finished. At the same moment, the whistle of an arrow was heard, which hit the wolf and the saint was able to free herself. She turned around and saw Chang Song in the sky, who fired this arrow. He said that everything will repeat itself, even if he will never be thanked for it. Even if he puts his life in mortal danger, he cannot just stand by and watch this. He used a sword and attacked the wolf, and the saint thought that that person was definitely not from the Yunshui Palace. She looked at Chang Song in surprise and thought, who is this guy? Chang Song attacked the wolf and the system reported that he had increased his level. He acquired a new skill, Shadow Wolf Tail. The saint watched him deal with the wolves and thought that she had never met him before, but this scene seemed so familiar to her. A clod of mud appeared on the ground, from which a wolf jumped out and attacked Chang Song from behind. He noticed it too late and thought it was bad. But at that moment the saint covered him and took the blow upon herself. She was thrown to the side, but Chang Song caught her and protected her from another blow. He sat the saint next to a tree and said that it would be unsightly to attack from behind. Then Chang Song stood up and looked at the wolves who were rapidly approaching him. He spread his arms to the side and said that they were very fast. A 7-colored moon spear appeared in his hand, which he spun and stabbed into the ground, saying that they are certainly strong opponents, but he can't stand idiots who bully people. The force wave from the impact on the ground spread around and killed all the wolves. Chang Song's level rose to 200, and energy became 33,000 units. Strength increased to 34,000, endurance 33,000, magic 27,000. Chance of becoming immortal 287. Meanwhile, other immortals ran to the scene. One of them told the Lao elders that they were almost there. The elder said that Lan Xiao only took 2 escorts with her and dared to go to such a dangerous place. What happened to her? They need to be faster. He hopes they make it on time. At this time, heavy dust rose in the clearing and all the wolves died. The system informed Chang Song that he received Shadow Wolf Fur, Shadow Wolf Skin, and the special item Yafen Wings. He looked at the wings and the system said that this item cannot be sold or exchanged. It is bound to the owner immediately upon receipt. Chang Song thought, a special item. This is the first time he sees one like this and doesn't even know what to do with it. Oh well, he'll deal with it later. He looked at the girls and suddenly realized that someone was approaching. He used his insight skill and saw the immortals who were heading here. He thought that the clothes of these people were somewhat similar to the clothes of these girls. He thinks they are rushing to help them. It will be hard to explain to them who he is, so he should avoid meeting them. He headed into the forest and thought that he needed to hide quickly. Then he waved his hand, using his camouflage skill, and seemed to vanish into thin air. At the same moment, the immortals approached the clearing and the elder noticed the girls. He landed next to the saint and, grabbing her by the shoulders, asked if she was okay. She opened her eyes and replied that she was fine, don't let him worry. She rose to her feet and said that Jai Feng and Yaoer were seriously injured, let them quickly help them. The other immortal agreed, and Chang Song, looking out from behind the tree, thought that since help had arrived to them, he shouldn't worry. He had been very exhausted over the past few days. He took out a mirror and thought it was time for him to return. After that, he disappeared from the immortal world and the saint approached the elder. She said it seemed like it was finally over. She was overcome with sadness and looked at the sky, continuing to remain silent. Time passed. Chang Song came out of the shower and thought that after returning from the world of immortals, he was finally able to relax. A little rest gave him the opportunity to realize that his body had become much stronger and more sensitive. He went to the mirror and looked at himself, thinking, does it seem to him, or has he really grown up? He took a closer look at his body and said that he couldn't believe he had such abs. This means everything works like money. All the physical changes he achieved in the world of immortals are preserved in his world. He barely recognizes himself. But he still can't understand one thing. Why did the world of immortals choose him? Until that moment he was a completely ordinary loser, now he doesn't even recognize himself. Had heaven chosen him only because of his kindness? There was a knock on the door and a woman's voice asked if anyone was home. It's delivery. Chang Song opened the door and they greeted each other. The girl was slightly puzzled by his appearance and said that she was looking for Chang Song. He is at home. She looked at the guy in front of her and thought he was so handsome. Is he some kind of celebrity? Chang Song replied that he was Chang Song. He called her Tian Tian and said that they had not seen each other for a long time. The girl thought that he had a perfect body. She exclaimed, is he Chang Song? He has changed too much. He replied that he had been playing sports hard lately, so he had changed a little. Suddenly he covered himself with a pillow and said that he had forgotten that he had just gotten out of the shower. He apologized to the day and she bowed to him, saying that he was a holy Buddha. She cleared her throat and said that she meant Mr. Song. She wished him a good day. She walked away and shouted that he actually had 8-pack abs. Chang Song thought, has she always been like this? He needs to hurry. He got dressed and said that today was the day of his grandfather's funeral, he couldn't be late. Meanwhile, there was someone's office in the high-rise building. The middle-aged man looked at the documents and said that the Lin family knows a lot about business. His subordinate called him Mr. Ju and asked if they could just get rid of Mr. Lin. They dared to deceive them, and they don't know what they will do in the future. Mr. Tishiu threw the papers on the table and said that he was thinking too narrowly. Yes, he could easily remove it, but he still hasn't done it. So why? Let him think for himself for once. Okay, they need to put this matter aside for now. Are they making progress on what he asked them to do? The subordinate replied that they were working on it, the results would come soon. Mr. Ju said that they should work even harder, this matter concerns his daughter and it is very important to him. After a while, at the cemetery, Chang Song stood in the rain near his grandfather's grave and looked at the flower in his hand. He put a flower on his grave and said that he hoped he rested in peace. He doesn't know if he was blessed from heaven, but his life indeed began to change. The relatives came up behind and looked at Chang Song. Cousin Chang Song sighed dissatisfiedly and asked his mother why should they stand in the rain and listen to this brat. His sister agreed with him and said that they had been on their feet all day today. Her back was already hurting. Their mother told them to be quiet. In fact, it was their cousin who paid for this funeral. Her son snorted with displeasure and said that he could not earn so much by honest work. It was definitely dirty money. Before he was a debtor, but now he suddenly became rich. His mother turned to her husband and asked if it seemed to him that their nephew had changed a lot in these few days. The uncle looked at his nephew and remained silent. After that, Chang Song turned to them and his uncle told him not to blame himself like that. Auntie called out to Chang Song and said that she would like to ask him something. Where did he have so much money that he could arrange such a funeral for his grandfather? Her husband asked displeasedly, maybe stop talking about money. There at his father's funeral. She exclaimed in response, what's wrong? She just cares about her family. Besides, he was never able to sell that house. Chang Song called out to his aunt and said that he had asked around and found out that this old house was worth no more than 60,000. He handed them a card and said that there was exactly 100,000 on this card. Let them not touch Grandpa's house anymore. His aunt asked, does he mean that he gives them 100,000? She snatched the card from his hand and asked where he got that kind of money. Chang Song replied that they should not worry. This is not his grandfather's money. The rest should not concern them. He walked away from them and his uncle wanted to say something, but his wife shut him up and Chang Song said that he had a request for him. Let him bring his brother and sister to their grandfather for the New Year holidays. After all, his grandfather treasured his loved ones very much. He left them at his grandfather's grave and his uncle said that they would visit him more often. Chang Song left the cemetery and thought that he must take advantage of new opportunities and live a decent life. After all, he made a promise to his grandfather. Time has passed. Chang Song returned from the immortal world and said that he was finally back. He was so tired. Money came into his account again and he said that although it was worth it. Suddenly someone knocked on the front door and asked if he was home. Chang Song headed towards the door and thought, have the debt collectors come again. Chang Song opened the door and asked how he could help them. In front of him stood the girl he saved at the club and Mr. Tishayo. The girl said that she had been looking for him for a long time. She just wanted to explain to him that she didn't run away that day, leaving him alone. When she ran for help, someone caught up with her and she lost consciousness. She woke up only a few days later in the hospital. Chang Song asked, was she injured? He thought that she seemed to be telling the truth. She probably got it from one of those idiots too. She confirmed his words and said that she was lucky that the policeman had arrived, otherwise she would have gotten away with more than just a hand. Is he okay? Mr. Ju standing next to her said that Ji was his only daughter. He thanks him for saving her that day. He came here with her to invite him to dinner with them. He has a small gift for him. Chang Song replied that it was not worth it. The main thing was that everything was fine now. Ji asked him to accept their invitation and Chang Song looked at her questioningly. She asked for it again and Chang Song agreed. After that, they arrived at their house and Chang Song asked, so their family is in the antique business. Mr. Tishayo laughed and asked, is he also interested in this? Chang Song replied that he wouldn't say that, he just saw some antiques. They walked through the hall where unique things were exhibited and Mr. Tishayo invited him to follow him. Then he called to his daughter and said that she should go to her room and rest a little, then they would do it themselves. She agreed with a smile and said that then they would meet later. Chang Song agreed and then followed her father. They took the elevator down 3 floors underground and entered the cell in which Wang Liu lay. He noticed Mr. Tishayo and asked him to let him go. If he had known that this was his daughter, he would never have dared to touch her. Mr. Ju sat down next to him and told Chang Song that this was his small gift for him. Chang Song remembered Wang Liu and thought that he couldn't believe it was him. He's not even surprised. In Mr. Tishayo he felt some kind of indescribable coldness from the very beginning. Wang Liu crawled to Mr. Ju's feet and asked him to let him go. After all, he had a father he needed to take care of. Chang Song thought that with such a huge business, no one would be able to remain kind and fluffy. Mr. Ju straightened his tie and told his subordinates that he no longer wanted to see his face. His subordinates went to Wang Liu and he, huddled in a corner, said that he was wrong. He is guilty. Mr. Tishayo headed towards the exit and told his subordinates that after they finished, let them take him to where he belongs. He called Chang Song and invited him to go upstairs and drink tea. Chang Song looked at Wang Liu one last time and thought that he should not ask unnecessary questions at such a moment. After that, they went to Mr. Ju's office and a system window appeared in front of Chang Song, which informed him that he could use the appraisal skill on the objects located here. Chang Song saw all the information about the antiques on the shelves. The things were very ancient and Chang Song thought that of course he knew that he was an antique, but he didn't think that there would be so many ancient items here. Mr. Tishayo pointed to the shelves and said that he noticed how closely he was looking at them. If he likes something, let him just tell him, he will give it to him. Chang Song replied that he was just looking around. It's just that in ordinary life he does not have the opportunity to admire such ancient things. However, such objects, covering a huge period of time, are truly fascinating. Mr. Tishayo smiled and said that few young people are interested in this, his daughter doesn't even want to look at it. Chang Song noticed a vase behind him and the system reported that it was a modern piece of art. He pointed his finger at the shelf and asked the gentleman if he could take a closer look at this vase. Mr. Ju looked back and told his subordinate Abio to get this vase. Chang Song was given a vase and, looking at it more closely, he thought that he couldn't believe that they were putting modern art here. If he had not had the skill of assessment, he would not have noticed that the vase was somehow different from the rest of the things. He wonders if Mr. Tishayo knows about this. Well, of course, he is an antique. It's better for him not to say anything about it. Mr. Tishayo said that if he has something to say, then let him say it. Chang Song put the vase on the table and thought that he was so insightful, he had the feeling that he could see right through him. Mr. Ju said that he would not find this on the market. He snatched it from Mr. Lin, who reluctantly agreed to sell it even for several tens of millions. If he liked this vase. Chang Song suddenly jumped up from his chair and exclaimed, "Did he say that it costs several tens of millions?" Mr. Tishayo confirmed his words and asked, "What's wrong?" Chang Song thought, and he wanted to give it to him as a gift. It's too careless. The system window reported that this vase costs only 578 yuan and Chang Song clenched his hand into a fist, and then told the gentleman that this vase is fake. He calmed down a little and scratched the back of his head and said that perhaps he was mistaken. It just seemed to him that this vase was very different from the others. He laughed awkwardly and told him to just forget about his words. Mr. Tishayo smiled and, giving the vase to his subordinate, said that he had not said anything about authenticity. He laughed and said that he had a good eye. He put the envelope on the table and said that there would be an auction today. Wouldn't he like to go there with him and look at different toys? Chang Song looked at the envelope and a strange energy began to emanate from it. He squinted and an image of a bell appeared in his head, and then a woman appeared who looked him straight in the eyes. Chang Song was very surprised and thought, what was that? As soon as he looked at this invitation, a certain image appeared before his eyes. It seems like he'll get something interesting if he accepts his offer. Mr. Tishayu asked, well, will he go with him? Chang Song accepted the invitation and said that he didn't think he could help, but he would like to look at the auction. Mr. Tishayu replied that he likes young people who do something with such interest. Jie walked up to her father and said that Uncle Liu was waiting for him in the waiting room. Her father said that let her be their guest for now while he meets Liu. Jie said that she would talk to him. She sat down next to Chang Song and said that she had already asked her to prepare snacks for them. They would be brought soon. By the way, what did they talk about with their father? Chang Song replied that they were talking about antiques, although he doesn't know much about it. Ji sighed and said that her dad always behaves like this. He doesn't care whether the interlocutor is interested in it or not. Chang Song pointed his finger at her hand and asked, what about her hand? He stopped short and suddenly remembered the pill, and Ji said that the doctor said that recovery would take at least a month. Although this is inconvenient, there is nothing more that can be done. Chang Song reached into his pocket and said that he had pills that would help with recovery. Does she want to try it? He showed her the pill and said that his grandfather had left it for him, so he took it with him just in case. She agreed and said that then it was no wonder he was fine. Is he sure he wants to share such an expensive medicine? Chang Song thought that it was better for him not to mention the world of immortals at all. He confirmed her words and said that he knew their recipe so he could cook more. Ji smiled and thanked him, and then stuffed the pill into her mouth and swallowed it, thinking that she suddenly felt so hot for some reason. What is this strange feeling inside? Luckily, Chang Song doesn't look at her. She probably looks very strange now. How much longer will this continue? Chang Song said that they decided that he would go to the auction with her father. He looked at her and asked, will she go with them? Ji jerked in surprise and her bandages came loose, and then she thought, why is he looking at her like that? Chang Song saw that her bandages had fallen off and said that it looks like her arm has already recovered. Ji said it was true. She can already move her hand. She hugged Chang Song and said that he had already helped her twice. She would definitely pay him back. Chang Song looked away and said that she was too close. Ji suddenly jumped up from the sofa and apologized to him, saying that she would go check if the snacks were ready. In the aisle, she met her father and said that she was going to the kitchen. Her father looked after her, puzzled, and thought, what happened to her hand? He noticed bandages on the floor and Chang Song asked, is he finished? Mr. Tishayu laughed and said that they could leave now. Chang Song asked how is Miss Ji? Mr. Tishayu replied that she would go to school soon, so he didn't have to worry about her. There will be a robe and mask in the car, let him put them on. After all, the auction is anonymous. Chang Song agreed and followed him, thinking that he was wondering why the gentleman didn't ask anything about his daughter's hand if he saw bandages and plaster on the floor. He can still believe in the carefree nature of young Ji, but why him? No, Mr. Tishayu is not so careless. He seems to have a lot of secrets. After a while, they arrived at the auction and Mr. Tishayu told his friend that today he had brought a reliable assistant with him. His friend asked, is he talking about that young man in front? Chang Song looked around and thought that he had the evaluation skill, so this place would be perfect for him. He saw a group of people ahead. The girl looked at Chang Song and nodded and then walked on. Chang Song looked after her and thought, does the assessment only work on objects? He used the assessment skill and found out that her name is Boyuling. She is 18 years old, level 12, has level 6 martial arts, and also has level 6 wisdom. Chang Song was surprised and thought that the skill also works on people. Besides, does this girl have a level? Chang Song looked into the crowd and once again used the assessment skill on a random person and thought that people also have their own skills and levels, so the assessment calculates their strengths. Chang Song once again used the assessment skill and learned that under the mask was Ah Biao, who was 30 years old, level 18, proficient in firearms of the 3rd level, martial arts of the 9th level. Chang Song smiled and thought that this was wonderful. Their Makarovka does not work against him. Now he sees right through everyone. Mr. Tishayu approached him and said that if he wanted something, then let him show it. He doesn't have to worry about money. Chang Song replied that this is not what he came for. Mr. Tishayu said that he shouldn't refuse. He earned this money himself, so he can spend it however he wants. Chang Song took the money and agreed, and Mr. Ju patted him on the shoulder and told him not to be shy. He has money. Chang Song replied that then he would do his best to find something valuable. A few minutes later the auction began. The presenter addressed everyone present and said that she was pleased to welcome them today to the auction of the Shang Dynasty period. She is honored to present their first exhibit. Jin era vase with a phoenix in the center. An exhibit was brought onto the stage and the presenter said that the starting price was 30 million. Then it was the turn of the second exhibit. The presenter said that the second lot was a bowl with a pattern in the shape of grapes. Starting price 10 million. The third lot is a jade dragon from the Warring States period. Starting price 5 million. Chang Song thought that these were indeed valuable antiques, but this was not what he came for. Mr. Tishayo doesn't seem too impressed either. The next exhibit was brought onto the stage and Chang Song leaned forward when he saw the bell. The presenter said that the next lot was a small bronze bell. Starting price 50,000 yuan. Everyone present began to whisper. The man asked, "It's broken, right?" His interlocutor said that 50,000 is, of course, very little, but it seems to her that it is impossible to resell. The man agreed with her and said that it was broken, so it wasn't even worth 50,000. The girl asked how you can sell such rubbish. It seems that auctions are not what they used to be. Chang Song jumped up from his seat and thought that this was the same bell we remember. Mr. Ju noticed this and asked Chang Song what happened. Did he like the bell? Chang Song used the evaluation skill, but the system gave an error and he thought that he could not use the skill. At the same moment, the system window broke and an image of a woman appeared, repeating some words. Yao Palace immortal. Time, space and time, stolen. 1000, across borders, chaos deity. The image of the woman spoke unintelligibly. Chang Song listened closely, trying to understand her words. Then her image disappeared and Chang Song told Mr. Ju that he wanted this bell. Chang Song raised the bet, and then the man and Bo Yuling also did so. The stakes continued to rise and Chang Song looked at them, thinking that this couple was the only one fighting with him for the bell. Do they really know something about it too? The man asked, did he also have his eye on the bronze bell? How annoying he is. Bo Yuling said that let him offer barter, they shouldn't waste time. The man called the auction employee over and said that he would like to apply for an appraisal of his lot. He put a valuable item in a box and the auction employee said that it would take 1 minute. The man laughed quietly as he looked at Chang Song, and Mr. Ju said that they decided to barter. If he does not offer something of equal or greater value, then the bronze bell will go to them. Chang Song remained silent, and then an auction employee approached him and asked if he had anything to offer. Chang Song confirmed his words and replied that he would also like to apply for the evaluation of this pill. This is a medicine that will help against any disease. The auction employee took the pill and other auction participants began to laugh. Someone asked, is there a cure for all diseases? Is it magical or what? Another participant asked what was so valuable about this bell that he even decided to refuse the magic potion. The girl asked if they really didn't know something. The guy laughed and asked, what's the difference? To participate in the auction, they need to offer at least something and not invent magic potions. The smile disappeared from the face of Bo Yuling's companion and he said that it seems that this guy also has something to offer. He's not one of them, right? But his determination can be envied. He fights until the very end. Bo Yulin said that now they can only wait for his lot to be appraised. Chang Song turned towards them and grinned. Bo Yuling said that it seemed like he passed some kind of pill, but he is too young to be an alchemist. Her companion asked, does that mean someone else brewed the pill? She replied that they would see what would happen. They'll need to get to know him better when the auction ends. The man answered her that it would never hurt to have a good relationship with an alchemist, and at least he knew him. They would be doing the family a great service if they could achieve this. Bo Yulin asked what they would do with the treasure. He replied that it depends on the valuation. If their bet loses, then there is nothing else left to do. They'll deal with it later. The auction employee approached the presenter and said that the appraisal had already been completed. The item of the gentleman in the butterfly mask was extremely valuable. The presenter replied that she understood. After that, she hit the table with a hammer and said that their assessment confirmed that Mr. Butterfly's item was more valuable than Mr. Wolf's item. Do they wish to continue trading? Bo Yulin's companion waved his hand and said that since Mr. Butterfly liked this bell so much, he simply could not take it away from him. He turned to Chang Song and congratulated him on this. Chang Song thanked him and smiled. The host pointed his palm at Chang Song and said that Mr. Butterfly won the bronze bell. Sometime later, in Chang Song's house, he sat down on the bed and took the bell in his hands and said that since he had it, he needed to see how it worked. He used his skills to evaluate, but nothing worked. Chang Song scratched his head and said that he couldn't find out anything. What's happening? He examined the bell from different sides and noticed some symbols below. He looked at them more carefully and realized that these were inscriptions from the world of immortals. This means that this bell belongs to the world of immortals. How did it end up in this world? If this is so, does it mean that the world of immortals and their world somehow interact? Or are there others who can move between worlds? He took the mirror and said that first we need to check everything. He returned to the Purple Palace and looked at the bell in his hand and said that it had indeed been transported with him. He used his skills again and thought that the system still didn't recognize anything. But now he can at least read these inscriptions. The sun, moon and stars revolve around it, mountains and rivers are hidden in it. Under the resounding sound of the bell, the universe sparkled and the sky was full of different colors. Energy began to emanate from the bell, from which the image of a woman began to appear. First the face appeared, then the body, and then the legs. Chang Song looked at this in fascination, and the woman who appeared in front of him sniffed and clung to Chang Song. She hugged him and pressed herself closer to him. Chang Song watched her as she continued to circle around him and gain strength. After that, her image became more tangible and she sat on Chang Song. She looked him straight in the eyes and asked, was he the one who called her? Chang Song looked at her in surprise, and then she pulled away from him and moved her hand, calling the bell to her. The bell flew out of Chang Song's hands and entered the woman's body. Clothes appeared on her and she said to Chang Song with a smile, which means he doesn't even know who she is. Then how dare he call her? Chang Song asked excitedly, is she like the genie of the lamp? The woman asked, what is this? Chang Song replied that it was nothing. In fact, he called her because of visions that spoke of the deity of chaos, about some borders in the heavenly palace of Yao. She approached him and looked into his eyes, and then with an apologetic smile asked, is that so? She made it all up. She began to twirl a lock of his hair on her finger and said that when she tells people all sorts of mysterious things, their curiosity immediately plays out and they decide to call on her. Chang Song thought, is she not even trying to justify herself? He removed his hair from her hands and asked, so how did she end up in the real world? She tilted her head to the side in confusion and asked, in the real world. Where is it? She looked around and asked, are they in the Purple Palace? Does that mean he's the boss here now? Chang Song replied that it was like his grandfather had given it to him. He thought that this spirit was definitely not telling something. She asked if his grandfather gave this to him. Suddenly they felt something and looked at each other. Chang Song said that there are some huge waves of energy there, they need to check what is there. Meanwhile, in the Yunshui Palace, the immortals fought with their enemies and Lan Xiao ran after the elder. He called out to her and said that the monsters that had been held back for 1,000 years had broken free. Let her quickly go to Qingyang and give Lady Liu Cha a message that the Yunshui Palace has already been wiped off the face of the earth. She asked, what about him and the others? Another immortal called out to her and said that the master had given the sealing technique to her. They must save her. Ahead they came across people and Elder Lao asked, is it him, Elder Yan? Then it is clear why the defensive formation did not react in any way. Another elder called him Yan Zun and asked, so it was he who brought these people to Yunshui Palace. He is a traitor. Elder Yan confirmed his words and said that, however, he did not consider himself a traitor since he was not originally loyal to the Yunshui Palace. It took him 40 years to become an elder. Elder Lao asked how he knew where the secret room was. He should not have had access to this information. He thought that the entrance to the secret room was about 50 jang away if they could get Lan Xiao to get there. Yan Zun smiled and asked why they thought that only the two of them decided to escort Madame Lan Xiao there. The elders looked at each other, and then the second elder put his finger to his forehead and energy began to gather around him. He then released a powerful stream of energy forward and Elder Lao pulled Lan Xiao close to him. They moved forward, under the flow of protective energy from another elder, and Yan Zun's ally decided to step forward to delay them. He took a defensive stance, and then a piece of earth rose up and shielded him from the blow. Elder Lao continued to hold Lan Xiao, and Elder Yan said that the release of the Demon King was already a foregone conclusion, and the Yunshui Palace was destroyed. So why don't they volunteer to join them? Another elder sent a stream of flame at him and said that good and evil are not mutually exclusive. How is he not ashamed to suggest this? Elder Yan's ally gathered his strength in his fists and stretched his hands forward, and then told Yan Zun that he would take care of the old man and let him kill this girl as soon as possible. Yan Zun looked at the elder and said that he would see how much life force he would have to burn. Elder Lao ran forward, grabbing Lan Xiao, and she began to defend herself from those who were pursuing them. Elder Lao turned around, and then rushed her forward and told her to run towards the room, he would delay them. Lan Xiao called out to him, but stopped and ran towards the room. Yan Zun attacked the elder and said that it was time for him to give up his life. Elder Lao used his strength and swirled his enemies in a powerful hurricane. But Yan Zun got out of the powerful stream of wind and jumped straight at the elder. But he managed to deflect the blow in time, and Lan Xiao heard a roar behind her and thought that a little more. There's still just a little bit left. She ran to the door of the room, but an enemy was waiting for her there, who at the same moment attacked her and she got scared. But she managed to enter the room and disappeared, blinding him with a bright flash. Yan Zun ran to the entrance and asked, did she escape? The secret room formation will not work for a few more days. The man replied that it didn't matter, the blow had reached her, she was already dead. Meanwhile, Lan Xiao found herself in the room and crawled forward, saying that it was so close. At the same time, Elder Lao was surrounded on all sides, and Cheng Song and the Bell Spirit were nearby and watching. The spirit smiled and said that there were a bunch of youngsters beating up an old man. Cheng Song called out to the old man and asked, he is the same old man who came to the aid of that girl, right? Elder Lao looked up at him and thought, what does it mean Lan Xiao was talking about him? He shouted that that girl, that is, Lan Xiao, is now in trouble. Let them quickly follow her into the secret room. He spread his arms out to the side, slaying his enemies, and then pulled out the core from his body and transformed it into a tablet. He gave Chang Song the sign and told him to run. Yan Zun walked towards the sign and asked, doesn't he think these two brats won't be much help? If he doesn't mind, he'll take the pass for himself. He headed towards the flying pass and Chang Song rushed forward, intercepting the pass and pushing Yan Zun to the ground. He hit his back, and then Chang Song came down and the spirit asked, does that mean he still knows how to fight? It's funny, Yan Zun shouted to his subordinates to kill them. At the same moment, masked people attacked them from all sides and drew their blades. Chang Song extended his hand to the side and a sword appeared in his hand. Then he swung it and all the enemies scattered to the sides. The spirit put her hand on his shoulder and said that he should let her have some fun, she hasn't warmed up for a long time. Chang Song asked, can she do it? She touched his chin and said that when a girl wants something, there is no need to ask unnecessary questions. Chang Song replied that he understood, then he would go after that girl. They both rushed forward and Yan Zun asked, do they think they can handle them? He extended his hand forward and used the 1000 blade palm technique, and the spirit responded by using its power and hitting him, knocking him back. His ally caught him and said that he looked pathetic. Those brats had done him. Yan Zun told him to stop talking nonsense, let him stop them. The man used his strength and said that he did not expect such youths to have impressive strength. But unfortunately for them, this is the end. The spirit replied that now they will check it. She waved her hand and used the dazzling sun technique, striking him. A deep wound appeared on his body and Chang Song easily walked past him. Yan Zun called out to his ally and the spirit said that there was no point in calling him, he better take his body while he can. After that, she rose into the air and pointed her finger down, forming protective streams of energy around Elder Lao. Then she waved her hand again and the bright rays began to burn their enemies. After she dealt with them, she landed next to the elder and asked which pillar demon the clan was running from. The great elder was very surprised and said that it was the demon of the 6th pillar. He thought that she was so young, but she easily defeated Sang Yuan. Who's that girl? The spirit said that the demon of the 6th pillar is the fire-breathing Samadhi, the one who could not turn into a dragon. He has spent too much life energy, so there is a chance of dying. She'll go check on that girl he was talking about, so now he's on his own. The elder thanked her and said that he was counting on the two of them. Meanwhile, Yan Zun stood at the entrance to the room. He told Chang Song that they would not find anyone there, the girl was already dead. And she took the secret of the sealing technique with her to the grave, so let him go to the next world and ask her about it there. He laughed and then threw a blade at him, but Chang Song easily dodged and at the same second swung his sword, cutting off his head. He looked at the seal that was on the doors and said that he would open the door to the secret room. The spirit came forward and said that he should let her do it herself. After all, this key of his does not provide the ability to go back. Chang Song was surprised and thought, is she capable of this? This is incredible. After this, the seal turned golden and the passage opened. They went inside the secret room and saw Lan Xiao lying unconscious on the floor. Chang Song lifted her up and said that she was dead. But suddenly his grandfather's pill will help her. The spirit smiled and asked, does he have that too? How wonderful. But her heart no longer beats, it's useless. She pointed to the floor and said let him put her there and she would try to save her. But then he will have to compensate for the spiritual forces that she will spend on her. Chang Song just nodded and she asked with a smile, did he answer without even thinking? Chang Song asked, what is it? Does that mean there is some kind of catch? The spirit said it was too late to ask about this. After that, a bell appeared above her head and energy began to fly around Lan Xiao. The spirit cast a spell, continuing to repeat, the sun, the moon, the stars and time itself goes back. The years go backwards, the stars move backwards. The energy flowed into Lan Xiao's body and the spirit weakened. Chang Song held her by the shoulders and called her by name Zhongling and asked how she was. Lan Xiao said that she should wake up in a couple of minutes. Then she hung on him and said that now it was time to pay. She hugged him and energy began to circulate around them. Zhongling smiled as her wounds began to heal. They continued to stand there for several seconds until her body was completely restored. Then Zhongling walked away from him and said that she had indeed recovered. She didn't know that he had a pure young body. Then she snapped her fingers and said that the girl seemed to be coming to her senses. A second later, Lan Xiao suddenly opened her eyes and clutched her chest, trying to catch her breath. She continued to swallow air and then looked at her hands in fear and Chang Song handed her a pill, saying that let her take this pill, she will feel better. Lan Xiao jumped back in surprise and asked, is she dead? Did he save her again? Zhongling hugged Chang Song from behind and said that it was not him, but her. Lan Xiao asked who she was. In response, Zhongling reached under her clothes and pulled out a bell. She showed it to her and said that she was the spirit of the bronze bell. This guy woke her up from her sleep, which means that from now on he is her master. Chang Song turned around and asked, is he her master? Zhang Ling snapped her fingers and donned her maid outfit, confirming his words and saying that she would do whatever he wanted. Then she spun around and changed into a nurse, asking if maybe he liked that. Chang Song told her to stop, they still have unfinished business. He thought that she herself said that she did not know the real world. What kind of clothes are these then? Lan Jiao looked at Zhang Ling and thought that this girl is so free-spirited. She looked down at the pill in her hand and popped it into her mouth. Then she was filled with a strange feeling and thought that this pill was so filled with vitality, she had never seen anything like it. She screamed and then quickly sat down on the floor and apologized to them, saying that she was very ashamed of her behavior. Zhang Ling put her hand on her shoulder and said that something like this shouldn't go to waste. After a while, Lan Xiao fully recovered and thanked them both. She looked up at him and asked if she could ask a question. What happened to those who attacked them? And how are the elders? Chang Song replied that everyone who attacked them had already been killed, but the elders. Zhang Ling continued for him, saying that they had completely burned out their life force in order to be able to resist them. If they went there right now, she would have time to talk to them. Lan Jiao was scared, and then they left the room and she saw the corpses. Among them she noticed the great elder and ran to him. Elder Lao looked up at her and said that he was glad she was okay. Lan Xiao burst into tears and he said that she shouldn't be so sad. Yunshui Palace has protected the world from the sealed demon for many centuries. It is their duty. Since she is okay, she needs to go to Qingyang City. His body began to disappear and he finally told her that let her complete the work of the Yunshui Palace. Lan Xiao bowed to him one last time and said that she would do her duty. Chang Song walked over and asked what happened in Yunshui Palace. Lan Xiao wiped her tears and replied that the palace was attacked by the hidden sand people. It turned out that there were traitors among them. They used dark techniques to free the demon sealed beneath the mountain gates. Chang Song asked, a demon? Who is this? Lan Jiao asked, doesn't he know about this? Chang Song awkwardly replied that he didn't know much about them. He thought that all he knew was that they were not in his world. Lan Jiao said that there are 7 pillars of demons in the Great Wasteland. Living Dead, Samadhi, Kaiyanglan, Qinchen, Mingsh, Semu, Dijiang. Yunshui Palace answered the 6th pillar in which the demon Samadhi was sealed. Chang Song asked again, the 6th pillar. The demon sealed there must be very powerful. Lan Jiao replied that the 7-pillar demons were not divided by their style, but by the order in which they were sealed. Zhang Ling asked what kind of hidden sand is this. She had never heard of them. And how are they able to bypass the dark waters of the Ruishui River of the Yunshui Palace? Lan Xiao replied that she didn't know that, she only heard that they were hiding in Jianghu. They act very secretly, so no one has clear information about them. She thought, how does she know about the river? She said that the most important thing now is to get to Qingyang City and report what happened to Madame Liu Cha. She should have enough strength to stop the freed demons. Chang Song said that this is a familiar name. Lan Jiao said that it was Lady Liu Cha, along with her husband and son, hand in hand with the goddess of mercy, who sealed the demon Samadhi. Perhaps the freed demon will go to take revenge on Lady Liu Cha. The owner of the Yunshui Palace conveyed a secret message to her. If she can convey this knowledge to Lady Liu Cha, then she will be able to stop the demon. Zhang Ling put her hand on Chang Song's shoulder and invited them to go to Qingyang City together. It's been a while since they've been there, right? Chang Song thought, has it been a while? He's never been there. After that, a magic circle appeared under their feet and they disappeared, moving into the forest. Chang Song touched the tree trunk and looked into the distance at the city, which was surrounded by a dome. They saw smoke and Lan Xiao exclaimed, was there a battle here? Has the demon already reached the city? Zhang Ling replied that she didn't think so. The 10 circles of the protective formation are still in place and the city looks untouched. Chang Song said that then they need to see for themselves what is there. Suddenly guards appeared behind them and asked who they were. What are they doing here? Lan Xiao showed them the tablet and said that she was an envoy from Yunshui Palace. She urgently needs to meet with Madame Liu Cha. Then Zhang Ling took out a sign from under her clothes and said that she was Lady Lan Xiao's guard. Her master stands behind her. The guards looked at their signs and one of them said that he confirmed their identities. The lady is near the city gates, let them follow them. Meanwhile, Lady Liu Cha was standing on the wall and thought that those people were from Yunshui Palace. Her gaze lingered on Zhang Ling and she thought, who is this? She feels like she's seen it somewhere before. She came down from the wall and the guard bowed to her and said that these were secret envoys of the Yunshui Palace. They wanted to see her. Lan Xiao bowed to her and introduced herself and then said that the Yunshui Palace was destroyed, so the master of their palace sent her here with a request to stop the freed demon. Liu Cha walked up to her and asked if the palace master gave her a secret message. Lan Xiao confirmed her words and said that she was the master's secret disciple. Liu Cha said that she already knew that the 6th pillar demon had been released. However, after an unsuccessful attempt to attack their city, it disappeared in an unknown direction. They can settle in their city. By the way, another girl from the Yunchui Palace settled in the city. I think her name was Yao. Does she know one? Lan Zhao asked. Yao. It's her maid. Is she still alive? Liu Cha confirmed her words and said that she escaped with a broken arm. They can meet in the city. She looked at Cheng Song and Zhang Ling and said that these two did not look much like people from Yunchui Palace. Lan Zhao said that they are her saviors. They have saved her more than once. Cheng Song said that his name is Cheng Song and this girl is Zhang Ling. Zhang Ling greeted Mrs. Liu Cha and she thought that this young man was so handsome. But this Zhang Ling, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had already seen her. She said that they should go to the city and rest. She needed to start restoring the city's protective formation. After that, she returned to the city walls with one jerk and Cheng Song and the others entered Qingyang. This city is located in the southeast of the continent near the Fuxi border. It was founded 280 years ago and is currently the largest human city in the southeast of the mainland. Zhang Ling said that she had not been here for a long time. Now everything is different here. Cheng Song asked, what was the city like before? She replied that it was in a dilapidated state. There were few people, although at that time this was normal, because then this territory did not belong to people. She noticed a girl who asked the merchant how much this paper oriole was worth. She needs one. The merchant sold her the goods for 3 coins and Zhang Ling, looking at the coins, asked, what kind of coins are they currently using? She pulled out a coin from under her clothes, and then light began to emanate from her hand and even more coins began to appear in her hand. Cheng Song pointed this out and said that if she continued to do this, she would cause inflation. Zhang Ling asked, what is inflation? Cheng Song replied that inflation is a steady and widespread increase in prices over a certain period of time, caused by the excess of the supply of money over the real demand for it. That is, the excess of real purchasing power over the supply of output, which leads to the depreciation of the value of the currency. If it continues to create currency in this way, it could easily cause inflation. Zhang Ling remembered the girl who created money in the same way and asked, is he sure that such rules work in this world? Cheng Song replied that this was also true. After that, Zhang Ling went to the merchant and bought sweets from him. She handed one stick to Cheng Song and said that she took it for him. He took it and Zhang Ling asked Lan Zhao, what does she want? Lan Zhao refused, and then Zhang Ling tasted the candy and said it was so sweet. She continued eating it, and then someone in the crowd caught her eye. On the other side of the street she saw a woman who was looking at her with a smile. After that, she disappeared from the crowd as if she had never existed. Zhang Ling continued to look into the crowd and Cheng Song asked where she was looking. She replied that she thought she had met an old friend. She looked out into the crowd again and thought, how did she end up here? After a while, they reached the mansion of the head of the city and Lan Zhao said goodbye to them, saying that they would meet later. She walked further along the grounds of the mansion and went into one of the rooms, calling out to her maid. She hugged her and said that she was alive. Yao hugged her back and said that she was so glad that she was okay. Suddenly Lan Zhao suddenly pulled away from her and said that she must be in a lot of pain. How did she manage to escape? Yao decided to ignore this question and said that everything was fine, she was no longer in so much pain. Did she come alone? Where are the elders? Lan Zhao looked down and said that they gave their lives to let her escape. It was only thanks to them and that gentleman that she was able to get to the city. Yao smiled and said that this gentleman seems to be very powerful. Maybe he is the same person she was talking about. Her veins turned black and she thought that this girl was really very lucky, not like her. Lan Zhao said that Yunchui Palace was destroyed. She wonders if the other siblings are okay. Yao's veins continued to turn black and she told the lady that she did not want to do this. But why exactly should she go through all this? She grabbed Lan Zhio's hand and she asked what was wrong with her. She noticed the black veins and Yao asked, did she think that she was just able to escape from there? No, they grabbed her and began to torture her, and then they planted this dark spell in her body. If it doesn't kill her, this spell will destroy her from the inside. She doesn't want to die. She already saved her, right? Let her save her one more time. If she dies, she won't be able to continue living. Lan Zhao asked, what is she saying? Yao's hand transformed and she said that the palace was destroyed. All their brothers and sisters would also be hunted down and killed. Her hand turned into a sharp blade and she shouted, why not do her a favor and die for her? Lan Zhao was scared, but she reacted in time and pushed her away with her strength. Blood sprayed from Yao's mouth and her body evaporated. Lan Zhao looked at the remains of her body and then heard a noise and ran outside. She called out to Cheng Song and Zhang Ling and asked if they were okay. Cheng Song replied that Zhang Ling discovered them earlier, so they decided to attack first. They saw enemies on the roof of the mansion and Zhang Ling said that she had been in a dream for so many years and thought that people would come up with some new attack tactics. What a disappointment. After that, someone used their power and attacked the enemies, piercing their bodies with streams of energy. Chang Song and the others continued to watch this, and when the last enemy was destroyed, Liu Cha appeared. She said that there were so many insects in her mansion, she needed to do something about it. She approached Lan Xiao and said that she had finally completed restoring the defensive formation. Now she can tell her the secret of Yunchui Palace. Lan Xiao remained silent and Chang Song said that then they would go first. Lan Xiao remembered them and said that she was just about to ask them to leave them alone. Chang Song and Zhang Ling left, leaving Lan Xiao to talk. Liu Cha snapped her fingers, forming a barrier around them, and said that she surrounded them with formations so she didn't have to worry about anyone hearing them. Lan Xiao said that the palace master gave her a secret message. He said that she would understand everything. She gave her a message in an unknown language and Liu Cha thought it was the language of demons. Innate body of pure yang, sword brilliance of 5 colors, awakened. The goddess of mercy also once told her that she needed to wait until such a person appeared. At this time, Chang Song was sitting at the table and Zhang Ling was eavesdropping on the conversation. She thought, demon language, it's so interesting. Liu Cha thought that she had been waiting in this Qingyang city for 300 years. Who is this awakened one? Apparently, she needs to go to the library once and look for at least some information about him. She told Lan Xiao that she understood the general gist, but she needed to properly translate the secret message. By the way, how is her maid doing? Lan Xiao replied that she was dead. She attempted to take her life, so she had to kill her. Liu Cha replied that it was not surprising. Many people had broken under the onslaught of hidden sand methods. She shouldn't worry so much about her maid's death. Lan Xiao remained silent and then asked, does she know the true purpose of the hidden sand organization? Liu Cha replied that they want to become true immortals. Lan Xiao asked, true immortals? Liu Cha replied that once upon a time, a heavenly sorrow befell their world. On that day, all true immortals died, so knowledge about the true path of the Tao was lost. The Taoist teachings they now have are just their interpretations of the teachings that were found in the tombs and walls of the immortals. And, since these are just interpretations, their teachings contain deviations from the teachings of the true path of Tao. Therefore the power they use is only a semblance of the true power of the immortals. The Hidden Sand organization wants to obtain the so-called true inheritance. After finishing her explanation, she said that she had been through a lot today, she should take a good rest. After that, she disappeared and Lan Xiao thought about true immortals. She returned to the mansion to take a bath and began to reflect. She closed her eyes and fell asleep. In her dream she remembered the elder who told her to stop sleeping during class. Then her maid with a smile told the great elder that the lady had been reading about their martial arts techniques until late at night, so she dozed off during class. Then Yao suggested that the lady read a little more, and Elder Yanzun laughed and told the great elder that he was too strict. It's normal for Madame Lan Xiao to have her head in the clouds when she listens to him preach. The great elder got angry and everyone else started laughing. Then Yao pulled her sleeve and Lan Xiao asked, is something wrong? She saw Yao with black veins in front of her, who asked why she killed her. She repeated this question with a shout, and then Lan Xiao woke up, jumping sharply out of the bath. She caught her breath from the nightmare, and then hugged herself by the shoulders and remembered the dead. Night has come. Zhang Ling lay down on Cheng Song's bed and he said that it was already late. Why doesn't she go to her room and sleep? Business awaits them tomorrow. She looked at him and after a short pause asked, to another room. Naturally, she will stay with him because he is her master. Cheng Song asked why. In response, Zhang Ling asked, how else can she replenish her spiritual energy? Cheng Song remembered how she hugged him and asked, is there any other way to make up for it? Zhang Ling replied that it was his fault for waking her up from her sleep so suddenly, so let him take responsibility. She just needs a little spiritual energy. Or does he want to starve her? Cheng Song replied that this was not the case. Zhang Ling pulled his clothes and told him to come here already. She lay down on his knee and Cheng Song asked why she was lying next to him if he could replenish her spiritual energy through the bell. She replied that this is how he restores her body too. This is a more effective method. Lan Xiao knocked on the door and Cheng Song opened the door, asking what she was doing here at such a late hour. She asked if she could spend the night with him tonight. She is constantly tormented by nightmares. Zhang Ling looked out from behind Cheng Song and replied that of course she could. She pulled her hand and told her to come in. Lan Xiao asked her to wait and thought, did she sleep in Mr. Cheng Song's room? Zhang Ling hugged her and said that they would sleep together, it wouldn't be scary at all. Lan Xiao said that she would sleep on the floor. Cheng Song disagreed and told her to sleep here and he would sleep on the sofa outside. Lan Xiao wanted to object, but Zhang Ling beat her to it and said that he should sleep with them. Otherwise, how will he replenish her spiritual energy? Cheng Song replied that it was okay, he would do it through the bronze bell, so there was no need for it. Lan Xiao pulled his clothes and asked him to stay. Cheng Song looked at her gaze and could not refuse her. Already lying in bed between them, he thought, how did this happen? Meanwhile, Liu Cha received the guest. She handed the woman a scroll and said that the scrolls that the goddess of mercy placed also mentioned the awakened one. Just at this time, she arrived in Qingyang City. Does she have anything to say about this? The woman Zhang Ling met recently said that she didn't think he had appeared here before. However, another curious person arrived in the city. She must have already met her. Liu Cha asked, is she talking about a girl named Zhang Ling? The woman confirmed her words and said that since she woke up from sleep, the awakened one must also have appeared in their world. Now she can tell her about the Tomb of the Immortals. Liu Cha leaned on the table and asked seriously, who is she? She feels like she's seen it before, but she can't remember where or when. Every time she looks at her, she gets the feeling that something is preventing her from remembering her. The woman sat more comfortably in her chair and said that she begins to talk, but her words become completely unintelligible. Liu Cha is surprised and asks why she can't understand her words. The woman says that she was once banished from the Night Islands. Even though she was back here now, all restrictions had not been removed from her body, so she can't hear anything about her. However, it is not surprising that she remembers her. She has met her before, but cannot remember everything. Only those who are connected with it by fate can know about its existence. She only needs to know that by helping her, she is fulfilling the request of the goddess of mercy and will save her husband. Liu Cha is surprised and asks if this has anything to do with her plans. The woman says that perhaps this is so. The secret of the sealing technique has been lost, and the gods now cannot leave the Nine Islands. Only the awakened one can figure it out. All she has to do is tell her about the Tomb of the Immortals. They cannot in any way affect the appearance of the awakened one. Then perhaps she could seal the awakened demon inside the mountain. Liu Cha says that the entrance to the Tomb of the Immortals that she found last time has closed. They need time to find another entrance. The woman says there is no need to rush. The demon had just awakened and, most likely, had gone in search of fire essence in the mountains. She still has time. But the danger is that the demon may disturb those who live underground. Liu Cha says she understands her, then she will go first. She leaves, leaving the woman sitting alone. Some time later, Cheng Song wakes up and is surprised to see Lan Jiao and Zhang Ling lying next to him and hugging him. He blushed deeply as he looked at them. Lan Jiao is surprised to see him next to her. She gets up and quickly runs away, wondering why she clung to the master like that. She is very ashamed. Zhang Ling wakes up and says it's delicious. Cheng Song removes her hand and says that she should stop. She sits on it and laughingly says that according to the schedule they have a morning restoration of spiritual energy. Cheng Song stops her and says that he restored her energy the whole night and is still continuing. Zhang Ling approaches him and says that she still wants more. He must give her more energy. Someone tells them that the head of the city has come to them and she wants to talk to them. Cheng Song pushes Zhang Ling away and says that he will come now. He gets up and says they need to go. Zhang Ling gets up and says that this time, so be it, she will let him go. This Liu Cha turned out to be very annoying. She goes outside with Cheng Sun. Liu Cha notices them and says that she has finished translating Palace Master Yunchui's secret message. The key to sealing the demon Samdai lies in the Tomb of the Immortals located in Linyu Mountain southeast of Qingyang City. Zhang Ling thinks that the message consisted of a few words in the demon language. Was it really possible to fit so much information into one sentence? Liu Cha says that however, the entrance they once found is already sealed. She will send someone to find a new entrance. Until then they should wait in the city. Cheng Song asks did she just mention the Tomb of the Immortals? Lan Jiao says that the teachings and techniques that they now possess were learned in the Tomb of the Immortals. Liu Cha wonders, are there really people in the world who don't know about this? Cheng Song is confused and says that he understands now. Suddenly they hear loud sounds. Liu Cha is surprised and says that it was a bell, something happened. She will check what is happening there. She moves very quickly towards the sound of the bell. Cheng Song says that they should also see what's going on there. Liu Cha moves very quickly, leaving behind a trail of strong energy. She hovers in the air above the city wall and sees a large explosion of energy occur nearby. She says she can't believe the demons got here so quickly. Many demons are running towards the city. Cheng Song asks, are these the same demons who live underground? One large demon stands above the rest on the rock. He growls loudly as the rest of the demons walk by him. All the demons also begin to growl and quickly run towards the city. Liu Cha summons his weapons from his energy. Having created a weapon, she rushes to attack, flying through the air with the help of her energy. She concentrates her energy at the center of her weapon. She swings her weapon and releases her energy. She creates a large tornado of energy, which she uses to destroy several demons. The soldier on horseback tells the cavalry that they should head forward. Spiritual technique masters, get ready. Lan Jiao, Zhang Ling and Cheng Song watch from the city wall. He looks at this battle and uses the assessment skill. In the system window it is written that this is a shadow demon of level 10 to unknown. Cheng Song wonders, are they only level 10? This is not the case, perhaps their level will somehow change. It's not for nothing that there are question marks there. "What's going on here?" He asks Lan Xiao, does she know anything about these demons? She says that these are demons generated by the darkness of the earth. They seek to destroy all living things. When one demon dies, other demons near it absorb demonic Kai and become stronger. Therefore it is very difficult to fight them. Yao Er's hometown was once destroyed by these demons. When the shadows reach their goal, they simply disappear on their own. Zhongling thinks that they appeared here for a reason. Something clearly happened in the abyss. If things continue like this, even more monsters will pour out. And if their pressure becomes too strong, the lotus flower may not be able to withstand it. Then the continent will split again. Chang Song says that the demons have broken through the defense line. They need to be helped by a soldier. They jump off this wall together. He summons his spear and uses the combat skill flame throw. When his spear hits the ground, a very strong explosion of energy occurs. Because of this explosion, several demons were blown up and thrown back. One of the demons standing next to this explosion begins to feel a flow of energy heading towards him. He screams loudly and absorbs all the energy. Chang Song runs towards this demon and his spear flies after him. He grabs his spear and stands in front of this big demon. The demon strikes with his fist, directing his energy there. Chang Song takes a stance and uses the Scarlet Spear combat skill and strikes with the spear with his energy. At this time, the soldiers fight with the rest of the demons. Chang Song notices something. He defeats one of the demons and runs away in the other direction. He grabs one of the soldiers by the clothes and saves him from a strong demon attack. The guy sits down and thanks him for saving him. Chang Song channels his energy into the spear and uses the Spiral Thrust combat skill. He releases a huge amount of energy towards the demon army. One of the demons was able to withstand this attack and dissipate its energy. Chang Song thinks that these demons are constantly coming here, which bothers him very much. Liu Cha swings his weapon and releases his energy. She pays attention to something. She looks at the battlefield from the air and thinks that the shadow demons showed up here too quickly. Moreover, their bodies are filled with demonic Kai. Obviously, the demon Samadhi worked hard on this. Suddenly, the ground cracked and a strong explosion occurred. A huge hand of a demon emerges from this crack and the demon himself crawls out of the crevice, who slowly speaks, "A sea of blood, time for change." Chang Song defeats one of the demons with a swing of his spear and turns his attention to the crowd of monsters gathered near the large demon. Suddenly he feels something strange. He sees a large statue of a woman holding a red lotus. In the center of the lotus stands a girl with red hair. She cries and asks Tai when will he come back. Chang Song is surprised after seeing this and asks what was that just now. A demon attacks him from behind. He tells this damn demon that he must taste his spear. The woman with green hair also feels something. She stands up and with a pulse of energy pushes away objects around her. She realizes that something is wrong with the red lotus. She pulls a certain book on the shelf and a secret passage opens in the wall and goes inside the room. She approaches the bowl, which stands in the middle of the room, and directs her energy there. The contents of the bowl begin to change and rotate, after which a red lotus appears in front of it. The girl says that Jai Meng should answer her. A lotus petal falls on this bowl and an unknown place is shown. She continues to watch and realizes that the statue is damaged. For the past 1,000 years, Jai Meng has been single-handedly responsible for all living things on the 9 islands. Once the goddess statue is destroyed, Jai Meng will no longer be able to hold them back. Also, the devilish Kai is gradually eating away at the abyss. Suddenly someone looks in her direction. The girl is very surprised by this and the bowl in front of her collapses, releasing strong energy. Her body was covered with water from the bowl and she wonders if he has already awakened. At the same time, people are fighting against monsters. Among them was one very large monster with a very strong aura. Liu Cha rushes towards this monster. The monster fires a powerful beam of energy from its mouth. She throws her weapon filled with fiery energy. Her weapon dissipates the energy released by the monster. Liu Cha controls his weapon with a rope and gathers energy in his hand. She releases the energy and tells this evil demon that he must die. Her energy collides with the demon. Chang Song uses the assessment skill. The system window says that this is the immortal Shadow Demon King. The level is unknown. Special skills, devouring their own kind. He thinks he sees the question marks again. What does immortal mean? Is it really impossible to defeat him? In addition to this, he has a special skill. He throws his spear and uses the Thunder Dragon combat skill. Zhongling thinks that it contains very thick devilish Kai and something else very strange. His spear hits the monster's body, releasing energy in the form of a dragon. The demon is shocked that there was a huge hole in his body after his attack and it begins to scream very loudly because of the pain. The bodies of the little demons begin to disappear and their energy is directed towards the Demon King. The wound on the body of this monster is healing. Chang Song wonders, does it devour its own kind in order to recover? Is this his special skill? The demon smiles evilly and, screaming loudly, releases very strong energy. This energy overwhelms Lan Xiao and she screams in pain. Chang Song takes her away and tells her that she should be careful. She thanked him for this. Liu Cha returns his weapon with fiery energy. She says that this kind of demon is indeed very troublesome. Zhang Ling floats next to her and says that she will clear the way for her. She releases the bell and uses the break skill. The bell encounters the demon's energy and destroys it. They all burst through the gap in the demon's energy at once. The demon strikes with his hand and releases strong energy. Chang Song dodges this attack and channels his energy into the spear. His energy begins to take the form of a dragon. He throws his spear with very strong energy in the form of a dragon. The spear hits the demon's head and destroys the monster's skull. Liu Cha gathers his energy into a weapon. Her weapon is filled with energy and it begins to collapse. She releases her energy in the form of a fiery bird and fire engulfs the body of this demon. The monster's body is destroyed and only the core remains, which emits powerful energy that surprises all people nearby. One of the soldiers is surprised that a monster appears next to him. Many other demons emerge from the core. One of the demons is very different from the rest with its very strong energy. This demon sits on his knee, and raising his head he looks at people. Liu Cha looks at this and thinks that this demon has evolved. The demon begins to scream loudly, releasing his very strong energy. Because of such strong and pressing energy, the earth begins to collapse under him over a large area around him. Liu Cha says that all troops must retreat to the city. The soldier on horseback says that everyone must listen to the lady's order. All troops must retreat to the city. The soldiers obey the order and begin to leave for the city. The remaining people release energy in front of them to protect themselves from the monster's energy. The monster's energy spreads around him very quickly. Chang Song notices this and summons his sword. He grabs his sword and rushes towards the monster. He uses the sword combat skill of the 4 directions. He releases large swords made of energy that pierce the ground and create a magical barrier. Thanks to this, the troops were able to enter the city. The demon very quickly starts running to attack people. The monster approaches Liu Cha and this greatly surprises her. She and the demon punch each other, but the monster was stronger and pushed her away, releasing its energy. Because of this attack, she was thrown into the ground with great force. Lan Xiao is shocked by this and calls her. Zhang Ling grabs her and releases his energy. The demon delivers a very strong kick. Zhang Ling releases her energy and defends herself from this attack, but she is surprised that the monster was able to damage her arm. Suddenly Liu Cha releases a very strong beam of energy. The demon notices this and pays attention to it. He repels this attack with his hand. Her weapon is thrown back due to the demon pushing it away. Liu Cha grabs her weapon. Her form has changed and she says that if she doesn't fight with all her strength, she might lose. This demon even forced her to take on her true form. This demon is truly something. She swings her weapon hand and throws it at the monster and immediately flies for her weapon. The monster watches her intently and blocks the weapon's throw with its hand. This attack puts a lot of pressure on the monster, but the demon was able to withstand it. Liu Cha immediately attacks the demon with his foot. She landed behind the monster after this attack. The demon is shocked by this attack, but his body immediately recovers. The demon swings his fist into which he directs energy. The monster punches with very strong energy, but Liu Cha blocks this blow and realizes that this demon has become even stronger. At this rate, she would exhaust all her spiritual energy without being able to seriously injure him. She jumps into the air, leaving her weapon behind. She freezes over the demon and begins to release her fiery energy. She kicks out of the air and punches the demon to the ground. Because of such a strong impact, the ground beneath them is destroyed. The body of the monster under her foot begins to disappear and this greatly surprises her. The monster appears again and grabs Liu Cha's leg. This surprises her very much. The demon picks it up and swings it, after which he throws it somewhere. She flies several meters and her weapon flies behind her. Her weapon flies behind her and Liu Cha stops, standing on her weapon. She pushes off and flies towards the demon. She strikes the demon's upper body and flies through. She turns around and notices that the demon has immediately recovered. The demon turns to her and immediately prepares to attack her, filling his body with energy. His eyes fill with energy and the demon knees Liu Cha in the stomach. Because of this attack, she is thrown high up. Chang Song was able to catch her and says that she should be careful. They land and he holds her so she doesn't get hurt. Liu Cha says that this demon will continue to recover until they destroy all of his devil kai. But even she finds it very difficult to do this. She could do it, but it would take a long time to dissolve that much devil kai. But at the same time she does not know when samadhi will come. She needs to preserve her strength. The demon watches them closely. He moves towards them very quickly, gathering his energy in his body. Chang Song summons several of his swords and uses the 10-pointed sealing sword combat skill. Swords connected by a chain collide with the monster. The swords pierce the ground and pin the demon to the ground. The monster's body dissolves, leaving the core. Chang Song says that now he will see what is stronger, his technique or the restoration of this demon. A large amount of dark energy appears in this barrier, which flies out beyond the barrier of swords. The demon restores its body and absorbs its energy. Having fully recovered, it begins to scream loudly. Chang Song makes a seal from his hand and uses the Yin Moon Dragon combat skill. Energy begins to fly out of the swords, which takes the form of a dragon. He controls his energy and creates several more dragons. Liu Cha thinks that this power can only belong to an awakened one. Is it possible that he is the man she has been waiting for? Chang Song channels his energy into the demon and destroys its body, leaving a core emitting dark energy. He flies up to this cannonball and is going to grab it. Liu Cha thinks that he absorbed the demon heart filled with devilish Kai without hesitation. Is he really not at all afraid of exhausting all his spiritual energy? Zhang Ling tells the owner that this is the devil's Kai. If he forgets to be careful, he will lose all his vitality. Chang Song says that if he doesn't devour this demon's heart, he will soon recover. Then everything they have achieved today will collapse. He grabs the demon's heart, and because he squeezes it, the heart begins to emit strong streams of dark energy and he directs his energy back. Zhang Ling thinks that if something happens, she will immediately place it inside the bronze bell. The top layer of the heart is destroyed, leaving behind a green stone that emits a completely different energy. Chang Song looks at it and wonders, what is this? His body is surrounded by strong energy from this stone. Liu Cha looks at this and realizes that this is natural Kai. He is the same awakened one that she has been waiting for so many years. Zhang Ling says that it has been a long time since she saw someone purify the devil's Kai to the state of natural Kai. Lan Jiao senses this energy and says that it is very warm. Chang Song experiences some strange sensation and, having moved into empty space, wonders where he ended up. He notices a large red lotus on which rays of light fall. In the center of this lotus stands a girl with red hair. Chang Song notices her and thinks that it seems that he has already seen this girl in his knowledge. The girl tells Tai that he has finally arrived. Chang Song approaches her and says his name. He asks who is Tai. The girl touches his face with her hands and says that everything is fine. She had been waiting for him, and he finally came. Tai must find her. He must definitely find her. Chang Song is surprised by what she says. He returns to his body and Zhang Ling says that this is natural Kai. She didn't expect the purified demon's heart to turn out like this. Chang Song says that this energy was so big. He asks Mrs. Liu Cha, are they done with him now? She gets down on her knee and tells Mr. Awaken that she hopes that he will forgive her for her negligence. She didn't recognize him from the beginning. Chang Song is surprised and asks what is she talking about. At the same time, a man on horseback notices a battlefield near the city and says that it looks like there's a devastating battle going on here. It looks like they're just in time. Sometime later in the mansion of the head of the city, Chang Song examines the purified demon heart. Zhang Lai looks around in surprise and says that he should look at what chambers they live in. Just yesterday they were in small rooms, and today they were given such a luxurious room. She approaches him and calls him master. She notices that he does not react to her and asks what he is doing here and what is he thinking about. Chang Song asks what is the value of this thing. Is it that rare? Zhang Lai takes it and says that of course it is, because this jade is created from condensed natural Kai. This is a very rare occurrence. After the heavenly tribulation entered this world, this type of jade almost disappeared from the face of the earth. A woman knocks on their door and tells the respected gentleman that Mrs. Liu Cha is inviting them to a dinner party. They must follow her. Chang Song says that he wants to ask her something. Zhang Ling agrees and says that at the same time she can eat something tasty. After some time they came to the banquet hall. Liu Cha says that thanks to the intervention of Lord Awakened, this demon did not cause any inconvenience. She is very sorry that she did not recognize him right away. Chang Song says that she shouldn't be so polite, everything is fine. This demon can't come back anymore, can it? Liu Cha says that he refined the devil's Kai to natural Kai and turned the demon's heart into jade. The demons will not bother them anytime soon, so they can finally tackle the Tomb of the Immortals. Chang Song asks what she means by calling him awakened. Liu Cha thinks about it and says that an awakened person is a person who is destined to be reborn with natural Kai in his body. The moment of awakening is accompanied by the release of green light. Natural Kai is natural energy found everywhere. The possessors of this type of energy disappeared immediately after the onset of the heavenly tribulation, and it is said that only the awakened one can master it. It was when he used natural energy to purify the demon's heart that she realized that he was the awakened one she had been waiting for. Chang Song wonders, does this mean the awakened one is some kind of person from the prophecy? Liu Cha says that the head of the Chamber of Commerce, Ling Xia, is in Qingyang right now. She knows more about this than she does. She asks him to give her at least a piece of natural Kai. She is ready to pay any price for it. Chang Song is surprised that she knelt in front of him and asks her to stand up. He doesn't even know how to control this natural Kai. He asks Zhang Ling if she knows how to do it. She says they can go to the Chamber of Commerce tomorrow and ask Ziahua. Liu Cha apologizes and says that she was too hasty and she is very ashamed. Cheng Song says that everything is fine and she doesn't have to worry about it. He remembers that she said Ziahua's name. Sometime later in Qingyang City, Lan Zhao says that they have almost reached the Chamber of Commerce building. Two guys are chasing someone and one of them asks where he is running. One of the guys launches a chain wrapped in energy that wraps around the legs of the guy they were chasing. Cheng Song manages to catch him before he falls and says that everything is fine. The guy apologizes and says that he didn't even have time to thank him. Those who pursued him say that he should not interfere in other people's affairs. Cheng Song asks why they are chasing him. They must leave here. The guys get very angry at him because of this. One of the guys jumps high and pumps energy into his fists. Cheng Song forms a seal with his fingers and releases the energy he channeled through his hand. With this energy he repels both guys who tried to attack him. One of the guys wipes his face and says that at least they knew he was in town and they could leave. Cheng Song stands still and watches them run away. Lan Zhao approaches the guy and he is surprised to see her. She notices something that attracts her attention. She picks up the chain and thinks that these seem to be chains that the army uses. The guy says his name is Chen Wubao and he is grateful to them for their help. Zhongling says they didn't do anything like that. However, he must return her wallet first. The guy was embarrassed and took out his wallet. Lan Zhao is surprised and asks where is her wallet. She looks around and realizes that her wallet is nowhere to be found. Chen Wubao bows and asks for forgiveness. He releases energy and many items are returned to their owners and people ask where did his bag come from here? Is this his bracelet? Zhongling looks at this with sparkle in her eyes and says that there is so much here. That's not why he's being persecuted, is it? Chen Wubao refuses and says that he is not doing this on purpose. Suddenly someone hits him on the head with a stick. The old woman says that he should stop panicking. He just has to give all the things to the owners. He agrees and starts giving things to people. The man asks when he will get rid of this bad habit. The girl says that his habit is terribly annoying. The old woman says that this manifests itself in him when he begins to get very nervous. Everyone is already used to it. Chen Wubao asks them to forgive him. Zhongling smiles and asks, he is a cup of treasure, right? Chen Wubao panics and says that this is not true. It's not like that at all. He wonders how she knows about this. Zhongling grabs him by the shoulder and says that his reaction is very interesting. There is no point in pretending, she already recognized him. He must take them to the Chamber of Commerce. Chen Wubao, looking upset, agrees and says that it is right there. But he himself will never admit that he is some kind of cup of gold. He thinks that he really doesn't want to go to the Chamber of Commerce, especially while she is there. Cheng Song asks Zhongling if she can stop smiling so pettily. After some time, they come to the Chamber of Commerce and Chen Wubao says that they have come to where they wanted. Then he'll probably be on his way. Zhongling asks if he wants to leave. If he steps on his right foot, she will immediately cut it off. If he doubts, he can step on it and see what happens. Chen Wubao did not dare to leave and sighed heavily. Cheng Song looks at the door of the Chamber of Commerce and asks what they sell here. Lan Zhao says that the Chamber of Commerce does not sell goods, they issue coins. The coins they are using now were created by the Lingxia Chamber of Commerce. This is used in all major cities on the mainland. She thinks he is very strong, but there is a lot she doesn't know. He himself lived in this world, how is this possible? Cheng Song says that means it's a local bank. Lan Zhao is surprised by this and he says that they shouldn't pay attention to it. That was the name of the Chambers of Commerce in his homeland. She says that in addition to coins, the Chamber of Commerce is engaged in the preservation of treasures and acts as an intermediary during all kinds of exchanges. Cheng Song thinks that this is definitely a bank. Zhongling grabs his hand and leads him along. She says he should stop asking questions. They can just come in and have a look. They enter the hall of the Chamber of Commerce. Chen Wubao touches the floor and says that there is so much hidden here. Zhongling takes the object and says that these are pearls that pacify the wind. This is a very expensive treasure. The chamber worker says that you can't just touch the goods. The girl tells Xiao Mei that it's okay, they can take whatever they want. The girl agrees with the mistress. The girl with green hair says that she is the head of the Lingxia Chamber of Commerce. They can just call her Yan. She had not seen Madame Zhongling for a long time. She says she is very polite. She liked her the way she was in the past. Yun says that she was very rude when she was young and apologizes for that. Cheng Song asks, does that mean they know each other? Zhongling calls his name and says that this is her owner, this is her new friend. Lan Zhao greets the lady. Zhongling points behind him and says that the one who hid is called Chen Wubao. Yun looks at Cheng Song and realizes that he is awakened. It feels the same as Tai. She feels the flow of energy and thinks that she has not felt natural Kai for too long. She comes very close to him and Cheng Song asks what is she doing. Yun realizes what she did and asks her to forgive her. She looks back at Chen Wubao. He was scared and wants to tell her something. Yun says that she didn't even know that he was in Qingyang City. Why didn't he come earlier to find her? Chen Wubao says that he only recently arrived in Qingyang, so he did not have time. Yun says he seems to have a lot of questions. They can go upstairs and discuss everything. Chang Song accepts her offer. Zhang Ling throws the pearls to Lan Xiao and says that she will go with him, she should save it for her. She caught the pearls and agreed to it. They go into the office and drink tea. Yun asks, he came here to find out about natural Kai, right? Chang Song agrees and says that he would like to understand how to control this power. Yun says that yesterday he was able to awaken natural Kai directly on the battlefield, which is already incredible. However, even though he already possesses an immortal body, he still has not awakened the immortal veins, so he cannot release natural Kai. Chang Song asks what are the veins of an immortal. Yun says that the veins of an immortal are the meridians connecting his danshan with the upper and lower points. Only after natural Kai began to circulate through his immortal veins would his soul and immortal body become one. Then he will be able to use natural Kai. As far as she can tell, he is not from the lands of the 9 islands. Although he can use some abilities, he does not have access to the full power of his body. Chang Song wonders how she knew. Yun says that the veins of an immortal will connect his soul and body, which will allow him to fully master his power. There is something for him in the tomb of the immortals. He will understand everything when he gets there. Chang Song bows and says that he is grateful to her. Zhang Ling tells the owner that he can go first. She needs to talk to Su Hua about something. She came to her for another reason. She needs some money for expenses. Recently the owner told her about inflation, and she thought it was quite reasonable. It's better for her if she gives her several tens of thousands of coins, isn't it? Yun was very surprised by what she said. After that, Zhang Ling tells the owner that they are rich now. Now they can buy whatever they want. We'll pay with this jade tablet. She hides it and grabs Chang Sun and says that they can go somewhere else. Sometime later, the guy tells Ms. Liu Cha that he has a report. They found a new entrance to the Tomb of the Immortals. However, along the way they were attacked by the Hidden Sand people. The rest gave their lives so that he could return. He was able to save a map with the entrance marked. She should take a look at it. Sometime later in the courtyard of the city mayor's mansion, Lan Xiao carries food wrapped in cloth and says that it was a wonderful day. Chang Song asks, is it okay that they left the guy in the Chamber of Commerce? Zhang Ling says that everything is fine, because they are from the same family. Liu Cha comes to them from behind and tells the awakened lord that they have found the entrance to the Tomb of the Immortals and are ready to set off. However, there are hidden sand people near the tomb. They are probably also trying to get into the tomb. They have a tough battle ahead of them. Chang Song turns to her and says that then they should go there immediately. Lan Xiao says that this matter is related to her Yunshui palace, so they should let her come with them. After some time in the green forest, Liu Cha uses his energy and creates a magic circle. People approach them and one of them says that he did not expect that the lord of the city of Qingyang was also interested in the Tomb of the Immortals. So he is the same guy who killed Zhang and Yan Sun in Yunshui Palace. Looks strong enough. They turn to him and he says that however, those two were pathetic weaklings compared to him. He releases a large amount of energy and says that they must fight. Chang Song folds his hands and summons his sword. After that, he forms a seal with his fingers and uses the Moon Ring combat skill. A circle of energy appears around them. Chang Song grabs this guy by the throat and asks what level is he. He dares to call someone a weakling, being the same. People from his organization who stood behind him are dying. Chang Song asks what are the goals of their hidden sand organization. He must answer him immediately. The guy is worried and says with a smile that he is really strong, but he won't tell him anything. Blood begins to flow from his mouth and he says that he also left them some gifts in the city. His pupils begin to move at breakneck speed and he begins to laugh. Liu Cha says that he used a technique that ruptures his blood vessels. They have to go to the hospital. Sometime later, they walk through a long cave and notice something. They found a large entrance with a statue. Chang Song looks at the statue and thinks that the man depicted on the statue is very similar to him. Others also think they are similar. The eyes of the statue begin to glow, and noticing the open entrance, someone wonders, are they being invited inside? Chang Song thinks that this must be where he will find the answers. They enter this portal. They find themselves in a space similar to outer space, where a girl stands holding a yin-yang sign in her hand. She opens her eyes and everyone who was in this space experiences recursion. Chang Song opens his eyes and finds himself in a classroom where Lan Xiao, Zhang Ling and Ji are his classmates. Liu Cha in a teacher's uniform stands at the blackboard. He looks around and wonders if he really ended up in a classroom. His cousin comes up to him and tells his brother that today is his grandfather's birthday, so his mother wants them to come back early. They must go. Why was he frozen in place? Chang Song was confused and agreed. He comes home and wonders where he is. He is surprised to see his grandfather sitting on the sofa. Grandfather turns to him and asks if he is already back. Chang Song started crying and called his grandfather. Zhongling sees fragments of his memory in the space they entered and asks, "So this is a test that Tai prepared?" The girl with the yin-yang sign agrees and says that this is a test of purifying the heart. Among 1,000 worlds there is always one where everything goes as it should. People, as a rule, are always intoxicated by such a world and they become obsessed with it. However, the awakened one should not give in to his desires. After all, if a person who has been granted great strength and power becomes obsessed with his desires, this will result in a disaster for the 9 islands. Zhongling asks what if he fails the test. The girl thinks that if he can't, then she will kill him. In another world, grandfather asks how he is doing. Chang Song says he is doing well. He wonders, is this a dream? Even grandpa is still alive. He hopes this is not a dream. The girl twists the yin-yang sign in her hands. At the same time, in another illusory world, Liu Cha is sitting on a large sofa. Someone loudly tells a friend that today he will have to drink a lot. The other person says he's glad to hear it. Where is his fiancée? Does she really care that he drinks so much? A man with big horns and red hair asks if it matters. A woman cannot. He doesn't have time to finish because the guy notices his fiancée. Liu Cha walks towards them very quickly. The man is surprised to see his wife and says that he just drank too much and she shouldn't take his words to heart. The guy who was sitting next to him runs away and he tells his wife that they should discuss everything first. Liu Cha walked up to him and hugged him. The man is surprised and asks what is happening. She cries, clinging to her husband. The girl turns again to the yin-yang sign. At this time in the courtyard of Yunshui Palace, Lan Xiao wonders how she ended up here. A woman comes up to her and says that today she will become a saint. What's wrong with her face? Lan Xiao's eyes well up with tears and she smiles and says that she's just a little tired. The woman says they should go, the elders are already waiting for them. In different worlds, Chang Song is happily spending time with his family, Liu Cha is drinking with his husband, and Lan Xiao is practicing with a sword. In the yin-yang sign, a picture of the Chang Song family stained with blood appears. He sees Jie being taken away by 2 guys and calling for help. One of those guys says that they shouldn't interfere with them. Chang Song wonders what he should do. The girl with the sign says that when a person has nothing to lose, it is much easier to risk his life. But now they have something to lose. Can they make the same decision this time? Jie reaches out to him and asks him to help her. His grandfather calls him and says that he must return early today because today they will have dinner with the whole family. Chang Song is confused and doesn't know what to do. The girl with the sign asks what their choice will be. Jie asks at least someone to save her. Chang Song gritted his teeth and apologized to his grandfather. He says that he will have to stay late today. He kicks down the door and tells these freaks that they have to let her go. Immediately after this, a very bright ray of light hits him and he returns to his body. The man standing behind him says that he has a good heart. Chang Song turns towards the voice and asks, so he is Tai? The man agrees and says that he probably has a lot of questions, but they don't have much time. Yellow energy appears in his hand and he says that these are the veins of an immortal. This contains some of his memories. This will answer most of his questions. He must remember that it is important to remain true to his heart. Chang Song appears next to the Tai statue with 3 glowing orbs next to him. Zhongling says that it looks like her master has passed the test after all. The girl agrees and says that the veins of the immortal have begun to merge with him. A mark emitting a bright light appears on his forehead. At the same moment, Liu Cha and Lan Xiao also return from their worlds. Chang Song opens his eyes, which emit a bright light. He raises his hand, which glows with energy. With a wave of his hand, he directs energy into Liu Cha. She thanks him for this blessing. He approaches them and suddenly Hua King crawls out of his body. The system windows say that the system is being updated. Zhongling is surprised to see her and asks what she is doing here. Hua King points his finger at her and they simultaneously ask what is she doing here. What a meeting, isn't this the same handbell? When did he manage to acquire such forms? Zhongling says that this handbell is much better than some petty maid. Hua King says that while she was protecting Tai, she didn't even realize where she was taken in the first place. Zhongling says that she was taken to an unknown place because she at least did something to save the world. A petty servant cannot understand this. She was constantly hiding behind Tai. What kind of protection is she even talking about? Hua King turns away from her and says that she has lost interest in this argument. Zhongling asks if she argued with her. She shouldn't flatter herself. The girl with the sign says that in the past they also often quarreled when they saw each other. Hua King's body turns into energy and she says that unlike some, she has a lot to do. She still needs to return to the host's body and help with the veins of the immortal. She returns to Chang Song's body. The system notifies that the merging of the immortal's veins has begun. The evolution of divine consciousness, the discovery of the divine palace, the discovery of the sea. The system update is 37% complete. Chang Song closes his eyes and wonders, is this divine consciousness? Now he can see all the subtleties of his condition. He sees the innate Kai, the divine palace, and this is the very system that entered into a contract with him. Hua King is sitting on the roof of a building meditating and a hand made of energy pokes her shoulder. She waves it off and says that she is busy right now. The memories from the immortal's veins began to merge with his. Soon he sees everything for himself. He begins to receive memories from the immortal's veins. To create the world of 9 islands, Pangu destroyed the small world of 3,000 evil gods. And the moment he died, the deities invaded this world to take revenge for that event. Tai says that external gods cannot be allowed to enter this world. She is too strong. They can only share its power and spread it across different times and spaces. Change of time and space, rupture of emptiness. At the same moment, the sky was enveloped by the Chaos Bell and Lin Fu's seal. The evil gods who found themselves inside the spatial rift could no longer get out. After the great battle, Tai began to prepare to send his spirit to another world. The survival of this world will depend on whoever inherits his spirit. Chang Song wonders if it turns out that he is the reincarnation of this Tai, or is Chang Song really him? Hua King falls down in bloody clothes and calls out to Tai. Chang Song opens his eyes after what he saw. Zhongling asks if he saw the memories embedded in the veins of an immortal. Chang Song agrees and says that he saw some fragments, but he seems to understand the big picture. The girl holds out the yin-yang sign and tells the owner that now that he has acquired the veins of an immortal, he can enter into a contract with her. She is the mirror of the yin-yang, and she will help him fulfill his mission as an awakened one. Chang Song takes this sign and black and white energy begins to flow through his hand. The space around them begins to collapse. They begin to look around and say that the Tomb of the Immortals is being destroyed. The girl says that she has been the guardian of the Tomb of the Immortals from the very beginning. If she leaves this place, the tomb will cease to exist. He must take her hand so that she can get them out of here. The owner can use it to get out of the world of illusions. Chang Song agrees and touches her hand and uses the move skill. Black and white energy appears around them. They move back to the green forest. Liu Cha says that Mrs. Jing's illusion is so good that she was never able to distinguish it from reality and get out of there. Lan Xiao agrees and says it was like a good dream. It would be great if all this turned out to be true. Jing says that at least the two of them did not become slaves to these illusions. This already distinguishes them from most people. Liu Cha says that a lie is still a lie. These illusions were only a reflection of the real moon. First, they need to return to Qingyang. Sometime later, Zhongling lies down on the bed and says that it's a pity that Sister Lan Xiao didn't come to see them tonight. But she is glad that Jing is now with them. She sits next to her and says that she is just meditating on the side. Chang Song approaches her and says that he has been here for too long, since Madame Lan Xiao didn't come today. He doesn't have time to finish because Zhongling asks the owner what's the matter. Chang Song takes out his mirror and says that he will return to his world. He says that the mirror should return him to his world. He comes back and asks why he is standing on the bed. He picks up the phone and the screen says that today is the 19th of April. 5 missed calls. Chang Song asks how he got so many missed days if only 2 days have passed. He received calls from unknown numbers. Most likely, there is nothing serious there. These are either scammers or advertising. Does that mean Zhongling didn't transfer with him? At the same moment, she opens the door to the room and says that this taste is simply incredible. Chang Song notices her and asks if she moved with him after all. Zhongling says that although her body remains in that world, she can follow her master in the form of a spirit, but she can only appear next to him. Chang Song says that he understood it. Indeed, she has incredible knowledge. The TV news says that a crew of firefighters has already arrived at the scene of fires in the city of Z. The victims have already been evacuated from the surrounding area. The area and cause of the fire are still being determined. On April 18th, a fire broke out at Chengfeng City Hospital. On April 19th, the head of the hospital held a conference to inform the public about the fire. Their reporters were present at the conference. Chang Song says there were several fires in just a couple of days. They knock on his door and he says that he is on his way. He opens the door and the girl who knocked greets him and says that her name is Bai Ling. Does he remember that auction that took place 2 days ago? It was she who was wearing a feather mask. Chang Song starts to remember it and says that he remembered it. What does she want to talk about? He thinks he thought that auction was anonymous. How could she find him? Zhongling notices her and greets her with a wave. Bai Ling waves back and greets her. She says that the man in the wolf mask was her older brother, Lai Yuan. During the last exorcism of the demon, something went wrong. He was seriously injured by some strange flame. She came to him to ask for one of the same pills that he offered at the auction. Her family is ready to pay whatever he asks. Chang Song asks her to wait and asks what kind of demon exorcism is she talking about. Are there really demons in this world too? Bai Ling asks, is he laughing at her? How can the owner of such incredible pills not know about their existence? Chang Song says that pills are all he knows, so he doesn't know much about such things. Bai Ling says that there really are demons and all kinds of magic in this world. Demons appear as a result of the accumulation of evil spirits, and the largest clans of this world fight against them. She and Lai Yuan belong to the Xuanyuanxi clan of Jiangxi County. Chang Song takes out a pill and thinks that perhaps the demons in this world appeared due to the imprisonment of evil gods in the rift. He says that he understood everything. She can take this pill, he doesn't need money. Bai Ling is surprised by this and thanks him for it. She thinks he is too unpredictable. She can't understand what he's thinking. Zhang Ling stands up and says that he must wait. You can't just give her something like that. He is her owner. She recognized him as such after he saved her. If she wants to get this pill, then she needs to recognize him as her master. Chang Song grabs her hand and tells her that she should stop this. Bai Ling calls him master and he turns to her in surprise. She blushed and, kneeling down, told the owner that she was asking him to give her a pill that would save her brother's life. Chang Song picks her up and says that she was just joking. She shouldn't do this. Ji knocks on the door and asks if he is home. Chang Song apologizes and says he has a guest to meet. He opens the door and asks what is she doing here. Ji is surprised by what is happening behind his back. Zhang Ling asks if she understood that from now on she needs to call her madam and the owner master. Only she can call him master. Bai Ling says that she understood her. Chang Song stands in front of Ji and says that she shouldn't pay attention to them. He met them at that auction. She can come in without hesitation. He brings her a mug and says that he was just discussing some work issues with them. Ji took the mug and said that she understood him. She called him several times, but he never answered, so she decided to come herself. Chang Song says that he was busy with alchemy, so he lost track of time. He thinks that he forgot to write down her number, so he thought that those calls were from scammers. Jing comes up to them and says that his room suffers a little from feng shui. Chang Song is surprised that she is here too. She says that it has been so long since she took a bath that she couldn't resist. If he also wants to wash himself, then she can help him because she has rather gentle hands. Chang Song refuses and asks why she even decided to take a bath here. He tells Ji that she got it all wrong. It's not what it seems. He himself did not know that she was here. Bai Ling tells the master that she will go to the hospital to see her brother. Once he recovers from his wounds, she will return to serve him. Chang Song says she shouldn't do this. He said that Zhang Ling was just joking with her. Bai Ling says that she believes that his pill will definitely save her brother's life. So she had already decided that he was now her master. Ji asks if everyone calls him master, then that means he is the son of a very influential person, right? Hua King suddenly appears and says that she is finally done with her work. Where is Zhang Ling now? She must go out and fight her. She will not rest until they have fought 300 times. Chang Song tells Ji that they are just joking. Hua King looks around and asks what's going on here. Ji faints because of what happened. Chang Song caught her and laid her on the bed. After some time, she opened her eyes and he says that she woke up. Hua King approaches her and asks if she is okay. Ji screamed in fear and called her a ghost. Chang Song says they should stop scaring her. Zhang Ling asks if she heard it. Her face is too scary. Hua King says that she herself is scary. Chang Song asks Ji if she is okay. She asks who are all these girls. He says that he doesn't want to lie to her. These girls are indeed not people, but they are not ghosts either. He can't tell her more yet. All he can say is that they are good. Zhang Ling says that's right. She says her name and says that the scarecrow on her left is called Hua King. She gets angry at this and says she should shut up. Jing tells Ji that she should drink water now. She says her name. Ji thanked her for this. Chang Song says that he will introduce them better later. By the way, for what reason did she come to him? Ji puts a glass of water on the nightstand and says that she came to give him a letter from her father. As she already said, she was never able to reach him by phone, so she came in person. Chang Song asks if Mr. Ju wrote him a letter. Ji says that this is not so, someone asked him to convey it. The letter is sealed, so that he can verify for himself that no one has opened it. Dad asked me to give this to her as soon as she could. Chang Song takes the letter and notices that this is a sign from that auction. So this is a personal invitation to the auction. The letter says that the Yuanxing Trade Union sincerely invites him to visit them at any free time. He must come, they will be waiting for him. With best regards, Yuanxing Trade Union Director Chen Jin. He thinks that if he remembers correctly, then other spiritual treasures have reached these days, so it would be nice to take a look at it. But why did they ask to hand over Mr. Tishia's letter? Is this really a gesture of goodwill? Zhang Ling tells Ji that she has beautiful skin. What is her relationship with her owner? She only came here in person to meet him, right? Ji says that it's not like that at all, he's just her savior. Zhang Ling says that she understood everything, of course he is just a savior. Hua King says she should stop scaring her, the annoying bell. Jing asks, is he thinking about other spiritual treasures? Chang Song agrees and asks how did she understand this. She says that when she accepted him as her master, a bond developed between them. Now she can feel some of his thoughts. She had already tried to determine the location of some treasures, but the laws of this world turned out to be unusually strong. So far she has only managed to find the disc of the 5 elements. She senses that he is relatively close to them. But at the same time, she absolutely cannot feel where the most valuable treasure of this world is, the Ling seal. Chang Song says that perhaps this auction will help them find the lost treasure. Sometime later in the Yuanxing Trade Union, Zhang Ling gets out of the taxi and says that this auction has worked out well. This building is located in the Jade Belt. It is literally blessed with a lucky star. A guy approaches them and greets Chang Song and says welcome to the Yuanxing Chamber of Commerce. He can follow him. He agrees and says that he can lead them. They go into the office and tells the lady that he brought him. The girl greets and says that her name is Chen Jin. She is the president of the Yuanxing Chamber of Commerce. She is grateful to him for visiting her. Chang Song remembers that this is the same auction host. It turns out she was the president of this auction. Chen Jin stood up and said that she called him here for a reason. Someone wants to offer him a deal and she would like to mediate between them. Zhang Ling looked at her intently and asked, is she talking about the person who is behind the wall? He can come out. What's the point of hiding? Chen Jin is surprised and thinks that it looks like this lady next to this gentleman. Most likely she is not an ordinary girl. The man comes out laughing and says that this girl is very perceptive. His name is Liu. He is from the Xuanyuan clan. Today he came here to offer the young master a deal. In the hall of the trade union they all sat next to each other. Liu says that he is so young but already so savvy in this matter. Chang Song says that if they have something to tell him, then he should speak. Liu says that the quality of the pill he offered for exchange at the auction was amazing. The main reason he invited him is because he wanted to ask him to introduce him to the alchemist who created this pill. Chang Song says that then he has already achieved his goal because it is already in front of him. Liu was embarrassed and said that he was still too young to joke with him like that. This pill is the product of a real master. Does he really think that he will believe such a thing? Zhang Ling says that age is overestimated in this world. Can't young people be talented and promising? Liu thinks about it and says that in this case, he greatly underestimated him. If he really created that pill, then he invites him to join his Xuanyuan clan. They have many treasures that might interest him. Chang Song says that he is too lazy to join any clan. Liu says that he is very confident. Does he really think he can cope without support? Chang Song asks. First he questioned his words and now he threatens. They themselves invited him to a meeting and then began to cast suspicions. They are not friends, so he has nothing to say to them. Chen Jin says that since he has no intention of joining the Xuanyuan clan, this can be finished today. Liu says that their clan is one of the 3 strongest clans. It was he who insisted on this meeting and came to talk to him personally. You shouldn't treat him so impolitely. Chang Song says that the affairs of the 3 strongest clans have nothing to do with him. He is just an outside observer. Butchering pigs and making atomic bombs have nothing in common, do they? Liu slams his hand on the table and asks how dare he equate great clans with butchering pigs. This is simply outrageous. Chang Song takes out his phone and says that he should wait. They wrote to him and he should read it as soon as possible. Liu became even more angry and asked if he didn't take him seriously at all. Chen Jin asks the elder to calm down. Bai Ling writes, he is now inside the trade union building, right? Liu is very angry with this arrogant idiot and says that he will now show him what will happen if you do not respect your elders. He begins to use his energy. Chen Jin is scared and tells the elder that he is in the Yuanxing trade union. You can't do things like that here. Liu asks who is she to threaten him in the name of the trade union. Even if her grandfather were here, he would do the same to maintain his dignity. Since this guy himself called himself that alchemist, he saved him a lot of trouble. Now he will be a good boy and follow him, otherwise no one will be able to save him. Chang Song says that he is already aged, so he should not overexert himself. Zhang Ling asks this old man if he is too confident. Liu says they should stop talking. He could not even imagine that they mastered the technique of resisting Kai energy. He gathers his energy into his fist and swings. Chang Song's eyes begin to glow red. Liu strikes and an explosion occurs behind them. He is surprised at what happened and notices that there is not a single scratch on them. Chang Song says that this old man is quite interesting. Liu is surprised by what is happening and wonders what kind of power this is. Is he really an alchemist? This is not true. Even an alchemist cannot have such incredible power. Chang Song clenches his fist in front of him. Liu is shackled with energy and he says that he admits that he was wrong and he asks for mercy. Chang Song unclenches his fist and he can breathe again. He closes his eyes and thinks. Zhang Ling notices this and feels something. Chang Song looks at her and asks, is something wrong? She got excited and said that it was nothing. She thinks that for a moment she had this strange feeling, as if a drum was playing inside. She's probably just making it up, isn't she? Sometime later, an old man enters the office and asks, what is the point of old people mocking growing boys? Before it's too late. He is very surprised by what he sees in front of him. He sees Chang Song sitting calmly on the sofa and Liu sitting on his knees next to him. The old man asks what happened here. Liu Yi notices him and thinks that this old man saw his shame. He is confident that now he will begin to cling to this situation. He bows and says that in that case he will leave them. He leaves the office, passing by this old man, and he wonders why Liu Yi put on this performance. Liu Yi gets into the car and says that they should go back. He thinks that he will never believe that this guy can have such power. There must be someone very powerful behind him. This same man gave him some powerful treasure with which this freak defeated him. We need to investigate and find the alchemist who is behind it. At the same time, in the office of the trade union, Bai Ling tells the great lord that this is her grandfather. The old man greets him and says his name is Bai Wuya. He heard from her that the old man from the Xuanyuan clan decided to meet with him. They were worried that he would cause him trouble, so they came here. He thinks that he will have to ask her why she addresses him so formally. Chang Song says he is grateful for his concern. Bai Wuya laughs and says that he should actually thank Bai Ling since she was the one who worried about him so much. She blushes and asks her grandfather to stop talking about it. Chang Song smiled and looked at her. She blushed even more and looked away from him. He asks Bai Wuya does he have any other purpose other than helping him. He says that of course, in addition to helping him, he came here to thank him for the pill he gave to his granddaughter. Thanks to him, his grandson began to recover. Chang Song says that he doesn't have to worry about it, he did it with good intentions. Bai Wuya says that there is something else he would like to ask him. How many more pills does he have in stock? Due to recent events, their clan would like to exchange their treasures for some of his pills. What will he say to this? Chang Song thinks about this and says that he still has many pills, but he has one condition. Bai Wuya was delighted at the possible deal and asked what his condition was. Chang Song puts something on the table and says that he wants him to help him find a certain magical treasure. Bai Wuya is surprised that these are spiritual stones. Moreover, these stones are very clean. Where did this guy come from? He says that he must tell him what this treasure is, or at least what shape it is. Zhongling puts his hand in front of him and creates a magic sign from the energy. She says it looks something like this. The differences from the original are minimal. Bai Ling wonders what kind of technique this is. She dispensed with any intermediary and released spiritual energy directly. Bai Wuya says that they will do everything in their power to find this treasure, but he does not promise that they will be able to handle it. Chang Song agrees and says that he understands this. He also hopes that the trade union will also help him in his search for this treasure. Naturally, he also has something to offer her. Chen Jin says that the trade union will do its best to accommodate his request. Zhongling senses something and her eyes light up. She touches Chang Song's shoulder and quietly tells him that Yun wants to talk to him. He says he understood her. He apologizes and says that he still has work to do, so he will have to leave them. Bai Wuya bows and says that of course he understands him, he must take care of himself. Zhongling says that if they find out something, they can contact them using this. They just need to keep it to themselves. After that they leave. Bai Wuya turns to Bai Ling and says that he has a few questions to ask her when he returns home. In the elevator, Chang Song remembers how he squeezed Liu Yi and thinks that he almost killed that old man. He says that he doesn't know why, but then he felt a sudden urge to kill him. It even seemed to him that nothing would happen to him for this. How did she know that Yun wanted to talk to him? Can she somehow contact the world of immortals? Zhongling agrees and says that she can receive messages from both worlds. She even became a little curious about how the flow of time in this world differs from the flow in that one. Chang Song says that he spent quite a long time in her world, but only 2 days passed in his world. So, it may be that if he spends too much time in this world, then. Zhongling interrupts him and tells the owner that he doesn't have to worry. It seems that even in her world, time begins to flow more slowly in his absence. Chang Song says that's how it is. By the way, she didn't specify what she wanted to talk to him about. Zhongling says that she only said that they should return quickly. After that, he used his mirror and returned to the world of immortals. Hua King asks why they came back so quickly. She didn't even have time to watch the series. Jin says that the spiritual energy in this world is still much purer. Chang Song leaves the room and asks how he can help her. Li Yun tells the awakened master that he has now learned to control natural Kai and awaken the veins of the immortal. Could he go with her into the abyss and help save Hong Lion? Chang Song says that he also needed to meet her. What should he do? Li Yun releases his energy and says that he should not rush. Hong Lion has been in a state of decay for many years, so she cannot contact her directly. They will have to reach the abyss along the world's veins. The abyss is the lowest place of all things. When the heavens collapsed and the land of Hong Lion was left in the abyss in order to preserve the integrity of the 9 islands. Her energy begins to revolve around her and she says that the veins of the world will lead them to the very abyss. Suddenly a girl with short hair appears in front of them. Her image dissolves in a stream of energy. Li Yun says they must be careful, this is the goddess of devastation. The flow of dark energy destroys the flow of energy created by Yi Yun. They fall into the abyss. Hua King asks, is this the same abyss? It's somehow too dull here. Jing says that the abyss is not meant for living beings, so they may feel like the place is rejecting them. Chang Song notices something and says that there is something there. Everyone immediately notices it. He notices a ghost without a head and wonders why they got him. The ghost notices him and says that this is a living person. 100, that's it. Chang Song is surprised to see him. He starts to run away and the ghost says that it was he who killed him. He asks what is going on here. Why are these ghosts roaming here? Jing says that the abyss is a place where souls await their reincarnation. So it was only normal that he was greeted here by a couple of dead souls. However, the souls of the dead should not harbor evil feelings towards anyone. It's too weird. Hua King says they should be careful, their life energy seems to attract the dead. Chang Song punches and releases his energy, which destroys several ghosts near him. Yi Yun tells Huangshan that she didn't think she was able to recover so quickly. The goddess of devastation says that this is all thanks to the organization of the hidden sand. Otherwise she wouldn't even know when she would be able to regain her previous form. Besides, now in front of her is only a particle of her former self. She had always thought that the best quality of the human race was their tenacity. Does she agree with her? Yi Yun creates his clothes from energy and asks, so Hong Lion's deplorable state is her doing. Then they should stop this empty talk. They have nothing to talk to her about. Huangshan says she will accept her challenge then. However, she must take into account that today she will die. At the same time, Chang Song stands surrounded by monsters and says that they need to quickly find Yi Yun. These ghosts are very annoying. His eyes fill with energy and change color. He jumps high, and while suspended in the air he releases his energy. He says they must get out of his way. Zhang Ling is surprised by what she sees. She says these are Hong Lion's veins. She loudly tells the owner that he should not do this. Chang Song did not listen to her and released his energy. Something happens and it surprises him. Huangshan laughs and says that this guy she brought is quite hot-tempered. Then she has no choice, today she will let her go. She should thank her new friend instead. Thanks to him, the seal of the abyss has greatly weakened, and she will finally be able to escape from here. Zhang Ling says that Hong Lion must have become one with the abyss. Therefore, if you begin to destroy the abyss, then it will also suffer. As a result, the seal of the abyss will also weaken. The owner should not be so unrestrained. Hua King says it looks like the ground trembling has started to subside. It's still not possible to understand where this trembling came from. First they need to find Yi Yun, only with her can they get to Hong Lion. Chang Song wonders why he lost his temper again. Zhang Ling touches the crack in the ground and says that this place is literally shaking. Apparently, Hong Lion's strength is already running out. Yi Yun uses his energy and appears next to them. She touches the rift and says that she is right, she no longer has enough strength to heal all these deep wounds. Chang Song says that it is his fault that he lost his temper and caused such destruction. How can he fix this? Yi Yun says she doesn't know. Even she can only stop the ongoing destruction, but cannot repair these cracks. Although there is hope that the innate Kai will still be able to somehow heal these huge scars. She and Hong Lion are the result of the division of the Blue Lotus of the creation of the world. Therefore, innate Kai carries the power of creation. Perhaps through this he will be able to repair the damage to this world. Chang Song says he will try it. He flies into the air using his energy and begins to release his energy through his hands. Zhang Ling says it really worked. Hong Lion's veins began to tighten. Chang Song lands back on the ground. Yi Yun says that unfortunately, because the seal of the abyss weakened, part of the soul of the goddess of devastation was able to escape into the outside world. Chang Song says that it's all his fault. He succumbed to his emotions and damaged the seal with his own hands. Yi Yun says now is not the time to think about it. Since they were able to fix everything, they need to quickly go to the core of the abyss. Most likely, Hong Lion won't last long this way. After some time at the altar, the core of the abyss, Chang Song asks, is this the Red Lotus? Zhang Ling says that her statue is on the verge of destruction. The seal will soon disintegrate. The goddess of devastation's power of destruction is truly impressive. She touches the barrier surrounding the statue and says that it seems that this formation is not going to let them through any further. It is a very intricate and complex formation. It will take a lot of time to remove this. Yi Yun says that this formation was created by several gods in Tai. It was erected here so that Hong Lion could withstand all the pressure of the abyss and the corrosive effect of dirty Kai. Perhaps Mr. Awakened will be able to pass through this formation. Chang Song touches the barrier and thinks that this formation has literally begun to suck him inside. It seems she was right. He turns to her and Yi Yun says that she is entrusting Hong Lin into the hands of the awakened lord. Zhang Ling tells the owner that he must be careful. Chang Song gets inside and finds himself in an empty space. He flies through this space and discovers something that attracts his attention. Someone's voice tells Hong Lion that she shouldn't be stupid. Tai has been dead for a long time. No one can get out of the spatial rift. Even she was only able to release a portion of her essence. She will die here alone. No one will come for her. She is destined to break up into thousands of small fragments and scatter across all 9 islands. Does she see those suffering souls who are now wandering in the abyss? They were here because of her. She was unable to contain her dissipating spiritual energy, and it leaked into the outside world, turning into demons and mercilessly killing all those people. How many years had it been since her elder sister, King Lion, had last contacted her? She also left herself a long time ago. She will die alone. Hong Lion thinks that he will definitely come back for her. Cheng Song comes to her and calls her and says that he came here to get her out. Hong Lion turns to him and calls him Tai. She says that he is not really Tai. Her mask begins to fall apart and she says that it doesn't matter, she can't leave this place anyway. The abyss formation is already almost destroyed. If she leaves here with him, then not only the abyss will collapse, but also the world of the 9 islands along with it. Cheng Song thinks that this Tai has really thought of everything. He hugs her and says that he himself will restore the formation. The heaviness of the world of the 9 islands lies not in the heaviness of heaven and earth, but in the unbearable weight of the joys of life and the sorrows of death of hundreds of thousands of living beings. He realized the full essence of the cycle of rebirth only after he was reborn himself. And this place will become the core of this cycle. The system notifies that there is an awareness of the path of an endless cycle of rebirths. Activation of the formation of an endless cycle of rebirths. The statue begins to emit very bright energy. Ji Yun is surprised and says that he succeeded. The formation began to work with renewed vigor. A pink lotus blooms in the hands of the statue and the energy of the statue begins to emit bright light around itself. All ghosts pay attention to this bright light. All the ghosts kneel. The energy around the statue begins to unwind. Several energy spheres with hieroglyphs appear behind the statue. Cheng Song says that now they can leave this place together. Hong Lion agrees with him. A bright sphere emitting light appears in her hands. They return from the formation and Cheng Song holds her in his arms. Zhang Ling asks the owner if he is okay. Jing congratulates the master on this and says that the great Tao formation he just created is truly incredible. This is very delicate work. Ji Yun touches her and asks, Jai Meng, that is, Hong Lion, will no longer have to be the core of the formation. Cheng Song says that he replaced the core with the endless rebirth cycle formation. As long as there is life between heaven and earth, this formation will work. Hong Lion opens her eyes and tells her sister that she tried her best. Ji Yun cries and says that she knows about it. Cheng Song says that she was the core of the formation for many years, and now that she is no longer a part of it, she has lost most of her powers. She needs time to recover. Ji Yun says that then they should quickly return to the Chamber of Commerce. She has a way to restore her strength. She uses her energy to move them. They appear and she tells the master that she will need his power to restore Hong Lion's life energy. Cheng Song agrees and says that of course he will do his best. Ji Yun says that first she needs to activate an ancient formation that will help her. The awakened master will have to use natural Kai and connect it with his sister. Then the natural Kai will begin to resonate between the two of them and restore Hong Lion's vital energy. Cheng Song places her on the magic circle and says that he understood her. Is there anything else required from him? Ji Yun says that is not true, he should sit here. She sits down next to him and says that now he needs to emit natural Kai and establish a Kai connection between them. Cheng Song begins to radiate his energy and thinks that although he is not fully accustomed to this power, he must do everything right. They both begin to feel his energy around them. Unexpectedly, because of his energy, their clothes disappear, which greatly surprises them. Cheng Song is surprised by this and, blushing deeply, asks what's going on. Ji Yun says that he shouldn't be so scared. She and Hong Lion are completely made of spiritual energy, so their clothes are also just transforming spiritual energy. The energy that should have taken the form of their dresses was completely spent on restoring Hong Lion's vitality. Cheng Song asks are they sure everything is okay. Ji Yun says that she and her sister have not eaten natural Kai for a long time, they really missed it. They all radiate their energy, which fills the room. Hong Lion clings to Cheng Song and calls his name. They both press themselves against him and they all blush. Zhang Ling notices this energy coming through the door to their room. She asks, this scene is really captivating, isn't it? Hua King asks what is going on in her head. A large amount of energy gathers around Hong Lion and a dress appears on her. At the same time in an alley in Qingyang City, Chen Wubao says that he finally escaped from there. He can no longer be seen by Ji Yun. A girl standing on the roof asks, is this him? Another girl says it's definitely him. One of them laughs and says that it took much less time than she thought. They run towards him very quickly and Chen Wubao, noticing them, asks what they are doing. Some time later, Ji Yun and Hong Lion leave the room and she looks around. Zhang Ling notices them and asks if they're done yet. She touches Hong Lion's face and says that she has worked for everyone's benefit for so long. She is grateful to her for this. How is she feeling? Has she recovered yet? Hong Lion blushes and says that it's all thanks to Tai. Although no, he should probably be called Cheng Song now. He restored everything to her to the last drop. Zhongling says that she is very happy that she has already recovered. Then they definitely need to walk around the city and celebrate this event. By the way, she wants to introduce her to her new friend. Hong Lion agrees to this. Zhongling laughs and says that she looks even prettier than her sister now. Li Yun says that she won't be able to go, but they can really go and unwind. Hong Lion has been in seclusion for too long, so she needs to rest properly. Lan Jiao walks up to them with a smile. She approaches them and after saying hello she says her name. Hong Lion was afraid of her and hugged Zhongling. She greeted her, said her name and said that she was pleased to meet you. Sometime later on the street of Qingyang City, Hong Lion tries something and is surprised by the taste. They cross the bridge and she is surprised at how many fish there are. A man passing next to them asks how dare he ask them for money. The guy with the bruises on his face says that whoever they are, they have to pay for the food. A male soldier grabs the guy by the clothes and says that they came here to help protect their city from demons. And he still dares to ask them for money. Hong Lion cuddles up to Cheng Song and he tells her that she shouldn't be afraid. Zhongling asks, is this how warriors should behave? They are more like robbers. They have to let this person go. The man asks does she want him to let him go. He agrees and lets the guy go. Zhongling says that now they have to give him the money and get out of here. The man asks, who would have thought that such a beautiful girl had such a hot temper? He let him go, she should at least be happy about that. However, a beautiful girl must remember that he didn't do it for nothing. She must pay him properly for saving him. Cheng Song comes up to her and asks where he gets so much impudence from. His eyes are red and he says that they must kneel immediately. The soldiers feel intense pressure and fall to the ground. The man asks how dare he. He is an assistant general of the Qingzhou Emperor's army. He had just broken the law by using spiritual energy against them. People notice Liu Cha and say that the head has arrived here. The lord of the city is already here. The man tells the head of Qingyang City that this freak has broken the law, she should kill him quickly. Liu Cha looks at him with indifference. She turns around and asks Mr. Cheng Song what's going on here. The man is surprised and asks the lord of Qingyang City why he calls this idiot his master. Cheng Song says that he insulted them and tried to do the unforgivable. What if he wants to kill him right here and now? Liu Cha looks at them and says that in that case, he can kill him. The man turns to her and says that her family really turned out to be the offspring of demons. It was his demonic blood that made itself felt. Cheng Song says he should shut his mouth. He uses even more energy and slams this soldier into the ground and he begins to lose consciousness because of this. Zhongling touches him and asks his owner to calm down. Hong Lion snuggles up to Hua King and says that he is very scary when he is angry. Suddenly an explosion of fiery energy occurs next to them. In front of them stands a man radiating energy. The soldier asks who dared to step on him. He is surprised to see General Lin Yuan. He asks him to help them. They dared to attack them, and the ruler of this city did not want to help them. He is sure that this demon has some evil intentions. Lin Yuan says that he should shut up because he knows him well. He gives his name and says that he is a subordinate of the Qingzhou Emperor. This man is part of his army, and he is obliged to take him with him. Later he would explain everything to the lord of Qingyang City. Liu Cha says that it is not she who will have to explain, but Mr. Cheng Song. Lin Yuan turns his attention to him. He grabs the man by the throat and he asks him not to do this because he has a family and children. This will not happen again. Lin Yuan slaps him in the face and asks, did he understand anything at all? How can he spare a person who does such a thing on a foreign land? Soldiers who dare to bully ordinary citizens are directly violating military orders. There will be punishment for this. He kicks and, as a result of this blow, the warrior is pushed several meters away. He turns around and looks at Cheng Song. He kneels down and asks the master to forgive him. He admits his guilt. He should not have pestered women and mocked others. Cheng Song silently looks at him with a very depressing aura. The man asks him to spare him. Cheng Song points his hand at him and is about to release his energy. The rest of the soldiers are scared because of this and ask him to have mercy on him and for General Lin Yuan to help him. Cheng Song looks at this man with great anger. Zhongling looks at him with fear. Lin Yuan bows and asks that he allow him to take them to his own barracks. Cheng Song asks did he say to the barracks. That is, he wants to let them go. Lin Yuan says that he misunderstood him. He is going to punish them to the fullest extent of the military regulations. He just doesn't want to scare people by shedding blood in the street. Cheng Song says that if he just breaks their bones, there will be no blood. The soldiers' limbs begin to spin and they scream due to pain. Lin Yuan became very angry with him because of this. Cheng Song says that he is sorry for disturbing Miss Liu Cha. It turns out that the general will sort out everything else, and they will go. Liu Cha tells the general that they will meet someday later. Lin Yuan asks if she could tell him who this gentleman is. Liu Cha says it's none of his business. It's better for him not to get involved in this. Sometime later, Jing tells the owner that he should have some tea. Chang Song thanked her for this. He has returned to normal and thinks that lately some strange feeling has been taking over his heart every now and then, as if his inner voice constantly tells him that he must kill all his ill-wishers. It was the same with that old man from his world. Because of this, he has the feeling that nothing will happen if he kills some person. Maybe it's his immortal veins. He is brought back from his thoughts by Zhang Ling telling the three people that they should stop hiding on the roof and they should show themselves. Do they really think they won't notice them since they're wearing raincoats in the middle of the day? What are they? She notices Chen Wubao and asks what is he doing here. He asks will they believe him if he says he was forced to come here. The girls stand in front of him and says that they are who they are and that cannot be changed. Their goal is to release spiritual treasures. They are twin benefactors. Zhang Ling's eyes lit up and she asks, are they gold coins? They jump down, throwing coins at them and saying that since they recognize them, they will proceed to free them. The coin hits Zhang Ling's forehead and simply bounces off her. She watches in disbelief as the second coin bounces off her. The twins are surprised that nothing happened. Zhang Ling releases a strong wave of energy that pushes these girls away. They fall to the ground and lose consciousness. She comes up to them and tells these young ladies that even among spiritual treasures there is a hierarchy and they are still far from it. Chen Wubao asks, since it's over, could they help him get down from here? Zhang Ling pats one of the twins on the head and says that she should get up. She shouldn't pretend to be asleep. The girl throws a punch, but she blocks the blow. She asks if she knew that she was faking, then why did she hit her so hard? Zhang Ling asks if she just woke up and is already complaining. Lan Jiao asks, so the two of them are the same treasure thieves who create chaos, untying various treasures from their owners. One of them says that they don't need all this fame and recognition. The main thing for them is to be free, like the wind. The second girl says that her sister is absolutely right. The girl says that she clearly feels that she is a spiritual treasure. So why didn't their ability work on her? Zhang Ling says that she has already explained it. Their abilities are nothing to her. The girls wonder if she is really one of heaven's treasures. She exudes the same aura as Auntie Yun. They begin to run away from her. Zhang Ling calls these little ones. The jade on her belt glows and she tells Chang Song that a message has arrived from his world. Looks like they have some news. He says that since everything is calm here for now, they can return. After some time in the Yuan Trade Union, Chen Jin asks Mr. Lui if he is really going to do this. He says she doesn't need to ask too many questions. They must maintain a neutral position. This only applies to him and that guy. Last time he was irrational and rushed, but this time it's different. Today, one of the strongest masters of his clan is with him. His tricks won't work on him. The guy looks out the window and says that one of the elders of the Xuanyuan clan was destroyed and the culprit must pay for it. He doesn't have to worry, then they will definitely make amends to the trade union and conclude several contracts at once. This guy Mo Tenyang is from the Xuanyuan clan. He is the second son. Chen Jin says that Mr. Chang Song has a good relationship with the Boyu family from Jiangxi County. Aren't they afraid of running into them? Mo Tanyan says that the world is ruled by power and money, and he is confident that they understand this too. It seems to him that they will not spoil relations with them because of a young alchemist whom they barely know. Chen Jin is worried about this and is about to press the red button under his desk. When she is about to press the button, a small explosion occurs in front of her, which scares her. Mo Tanyan says that she shouldn't even try to do something right under his nose. Chen Jin thinks that he is one of the strongest masters of the Xuanyuan clan, but their trade alliance is not some kind of vegetable market. This is the highest degree of rudeness. Mo Tanyan says that she shouldn't waste her time and energy. Even all her guards cannot cope with him. Chen Jin asks, so what? Her Yuan trade union cannot be frightened by this. Mo Tanyan touches her face and says that her alliance is just a mediator. What does she think about herself? Chen Jin gets angry and says that he should move away from her. She hits the wall behind her with the bracelet and at the same moment several warriors appeared in front of him. Mo Tanyan asks, is this the secret guard? He strikes and pushes all the warriors in different directions and says that it is useless. Chen Jin thinks that she hopes that Mr. Chang Song correctly understood her secret message that she left for him when she invited him to this meeting. If he brings a representative of the Boyu family with him, then unpleasant consequences can be avoided. Chang Song touches her shoulder and tells her that she shouldn't be afraid. Does she need help? If that's the case, then she should say she shouldn't be shy. Zhang Ling asks Lu Yi if he has already healed all his wounds. He's the old man who came last time, right? Mo Tanyan asks, so he is that young alchemist. He is impressed and would never have believed that such a young guy had mastered the skill of instant movement. But he doesn't think that he can surprise him with anything else. Chen Jin asks, shouldn't the Boyu family have come with him? Chang Song asks if the Boyu family had to come. She says he should be careful. Mo Tianyang ran towards him very quickly and is about to attack him with his hand. He strikes and is very surprised by what happened. Chang Song writes a message with one hand and blocks the blow with the other. He waves his hand and throws it aside. Mo Tianyang crashes into the wall and screams in pain. Liu Yi looks back at him in surprise. He stands slammed into the wall and doesn't move at all. From the fact that he crashed into the wall, dust rose throughout the room. Liu Yi looks at this and begins to shake out of fear. Chang Song tells this old man that he thought they understood each other perfectly last time. But, as it turned out, there is no limit to his stupidity. He hands the phone to Chen Jin and says that she can tell her whatever she wanted. She is surprised and asks, should she talk? Bai Ling answers the call. Chen Jin asks if her family could come to the Yuan Trade Union now. Mr. Cheng Song has already arrived here. Bai Ling says she understands and they will be there soon. She wonders why she is calling from his phone. Cheng Song asks the old man if he really thought that he would save his life a second time. Liu Yi says the time will come, and he will pay for his disrespect, along with these disgusting women next to him. Cheng Song grabs him by the throat and asks this old man, is he in junior grade? Why insult a person you can never defeat? As for respect, he was the first to start with insults, and then lost to him in a fair fight. What kind of disrespect is he talking about? Liu Yi loudly says that he will definitely die. Chang Song says that he shouldn't talk about death when someone is holding him by the throat because it will lead to misfortune. His eyes change color to red again. Liu Yi is very scared by this and asks what he is going to do. Zhang Ling says that the owner's aura has become so cold and ominous again. Liu Yi says that if he is going to kill him, he might as well do it. Why is he playing with it? Chang Song asks why he would do this. Death for him is an exorbitant luxury. He's not going to kill him. Instead, he would break him and force him to beg for forgiveness on his knees. Bai Wuya, Bai Ling and several other people enter the office. Bai Wuya asks if he is okay. Chang Song let go of Liu Yi and he fell to the ground. The guy silently examines Mo Tianyang's office, lying next to the wall. Liu Yi coughs and says master that this freak beat up the second young master. The guy kicks him and tells the trash he needs to shut up. He hands Chang Song his business card and says that his name is Mo Tiancheng. He is the eldest son of the Mo family of the Xuanyuan clan. Now, on behalf of his entire family, he wants to apologize for what happened here today. Chang Song's eyes return to normal and he calmed down. Mo Tiancheng says that he perfectly understands his reluctance to accept his apology and business card. However, he still asks to forgive them this time. Their family will properly make amends to him and Chen Jin for this incident. Mo Tianyan came to his senses and asked his brother to avenge him. Mo Tiancheng channels his energy into his finger and enters his brother's body. He says that as punishment, he has already destroyed his Kai Hai, and later their Mo family will send other gifts to the trade union. And now he'll just take these idiots and go home. Chang Song was surprised by this and simply remained silent. The guards pick up Liu Yi and Mo Tianyang and go after Mo Tiancheng. Zhang Ling asks the owner if it seemed to him that this man smelled of the goddess of devastation. Chang Song says he didn't think so, but is she sure about this? Zhang Ling says that she is 100,000% sure of this. He says he understood her. He turns around and says that he is grateful to them for coming to his aid. Bai Wuya says he shouldn't thank them for that. They didn't do anything anyway. The guy who came for those two was indeed the eldest son of the Mo family. According to rumors, he loves his younger brother very much, so it was surprising for him that he publicly destroyed his Kai Hai. He can't even imagine what's on his mind. Bai Ling says that it looks like their family is hiding something from them. However, the spies they sent did not find out anything. Chen Jin asks if it could be that the Mo family's secret has something to do with this. According to information from the southwest branch of the trade union, something similar to what Mr. Cheng was looking for was recently put up for auction. However, they do not have any accurate information about this subject. All they know is that in the end, the Mo family bought it at auction. Zhang Ling looks at the photo and says that she believes it is a disc of 5 elements. It looks like they will have to see this young master from the Mo family again after all, and it seems to her that he has already mentally torn it into small pieces. Cheng Song says that the family that raised such a disgusting second son should not be afraid. After some time in the elevator, Liu Yi is about to say something to the young master. Mo Tiancheng grabbed him by the throat and lifted him into the air. He tells this old man that he couldn't even contain his feelings in front of that guy. It's time for him to start living up to his age. He threw it on the floor and looked at Mo Tianyang. He says that the master said that this matter does not tolerate even the slightest mistake. But he was able to ignore these words and cause them even more trouble. They will still have the opportunity to get even. When they put their plan into action, all 3 main clans will be wiped off the face of the earth. At the same time, Cheng Song asks if they can find out where this thing is now. Bai Ling says it's difficult to track. The Mo family acts very carefully. Zhang Ling says that when it comes to searching for something, Jing is the best at it. Meanwhile, in his apartment, They use the technology and are transported home. Hua King notices them and asks if they are back yet. Zhongling asks Jing to check the locations of the 5 elements disc. She looks at the picture and says that when you have a picture of the item you are looking for at hand, the search becomes much easier. She summons the yin-yang sign and emits energy. She sees several masked people handing over the 5 elements disc to Huangshan. They go into the laboratory and leave the disc in a levitating state. A large amount of energy is poured onto the disc. Huangshan turns around and the image begins to crack. Zhongling asks, does this mean that the disc of the 5 elements fell into the hands of the goddess of devastation, who somehow entered this world? Hua King asks if he was really placed on some kind of altar to imbue him with energy. Cheng Song asks, can she tell you where exactly this place is? Jing says that the formation of the altar from her vision made her task very difficult, so she can only determine the approximate location. Cheng Song says that we need to tell the Bai family about this, maybe they can somehow get hold of this information. At the same time, somewhere under the mansion, Huangshan says it looks like they were found. Mo Tiancheng apologizes and tells the lady that it is his fault. He didn't follow him. Mo Tanyan asks the lady to forgive him. Huangshan comes up to him and laughs and says that he has no need to be so afraid. The main thing is that he admitted his mistake and she appreciates it. However, they discovered them. She is confident that they will soon find this place, so they will have to speed up a little to have time to implement this plan. Mo Tanyan asks the lady what does she mean. Huangshan lifts him into the air with his energy and says that he will be given a great honor. He will sacrifice his life for their right. She transfers it and places it in a large flask of water. Mo Tanyan is surprised and asks the lady what is going on. He asks his brother to help him. Mo Tiancheng looks at this silently. Huangshan snaps his fingers and orders the device to be turned on. The energy around the circle begins to glow brightly. Mo Tianyang's body begins to dissolve and emits dark energy. Huangshan looks at this and her face turns red and she begins to breathe heavily. Mo Tianyang's body completely dissolved and a small core appeared in its place. Huangshan takes this core in his hand and says that it will be much more useful after death than during life. She gives it to Mo Tiancheng and says that he should eat it. This guy had the same blood as him, so this pill would be perfect for him. He should simply absorb its power. This is the main strength of the treasure he brought. It is meant to be taken from one and given to another. Or does he not like something? Wasn't it his family who wanted to destroy the 3 great clans? He must do as she tells him, and then he will gain unimaginable power. Mo Tiancheng took the pill, emitting strong energy, and veins appeared on his face. He eats it and his body begins to shake. Huangshan says he is a good boy. Mo Tiancheng begins to growl and scream loudly because he ate it. His eyes fill with energy. He lowers his head and radiates strong energy. Huangshan claps and says it was great. Mo Tiancheng's eyes have changed and he smiles, emitting sinister energy. He says he feels incredible strength. The hooded people tell the gentleman that he succeeded. Now the Mo family will be able to trample all the major clans. The family will regain its former glory and strength. Huangshan says it turned out even better than she expected. By the way, there are a couple of rats outside. He must try his new power on them. Mo Tiancheng turns around and runs outside very quickly. At the same time, next to the estate, Spy Chen Jin says that a wave of dense spiritual energy suddenly burst out from the Mo family's manor, which is located in the Dragon Mountains. It has not yet been possible to find out what exactly happened there. He will report details later. Suddenly, he is attacked from behind by Mo Tiancheng, who is about to attack him with his hand and says that he must die. He strikes and knocks this spy away. Immediately afterwards, he is attacked by several other spies. Mo Tiancheng notices this and smiles. He jumps back and dodges this blow. He levitates above the ground and collects his energy. He lowers his hand and releases a very strong wave of energy. This wave injured the spy and threw him aside. He lands next to them and starts laughing very loudly. He says that there is a power seething within him that he could not even dream of. Now all those who dared to neglect him will fall at his feet. His very loud laugh echoes throughout the area. Some time later, Bailing says that something happened to the shadow guards. They reported that a wave of strong spiritual energy had erupted from the Mo family's estate, and they no longer made contact. The car is already waiting at the house, you need to go there right now. Cheng Song agrees and says that they will not waste time. How do they know their exact location? Bailing says that they will go using GPS, they have already been given their coordinates. Cheng Song looks at the phone. He says she should hold on tighter. A magic circle appears under them and they fly very quickly and find themselves in the ruins of the city. Bailing notices Mo Tiancheng. Hua King says that he has some kind of disgusting dark aura. Huangshan says that their guests have arrived. Zhongling says that it looks like they managed to hide the disc of the 5 elements. Huangshan says that she will still need it, so naturally she hid it. Mo Tiancheng tells Mrs. Bai that they have not seen each other for a long time. How is her brother doing? He is quite merciful, so if she bows to him on behalf of her family, he will let her go. Bailing says that he can't even dream about it. Mo Tiancheng laughs and says it doesn't matter. Either way, they would all bow to him in the end. And as for Cheng Song, he must pay for insulting the Mo family. The good thing is that he came on his own, now he won't have to look for it. Cheng Song says that it looks like the goddess of devastation shared her power with him. Otherwise he wouldn't talk to him like that. Mo Tiancheng grinned and stood up, destroying the ground beneath him. He pushes off the ground with great force and channeling his energy into his fist to attack, he says that he will bury him along with his worthless brother. He strikes with his fist, channeling his energy there. Bailing thinks that he has become much stronger. At the moment when Mo Tiancheng's fist was about to reach Cheng Song, he stopped his blow without even using his energy. Mo Tiancheng is surprised by this and asks how is this even possible. Cheng Song asks if he overestimated him too much. He takes his other hand out of his pocket and directs his energy there. He releases his energy, destroying part of his body. Mo Tiancheng shouts loudly that this is simply impossible. He falls to the ground, feeling very strong pain. He turns around and asks the lady to save him. Huangshan says that unfortunately, both brothers turned out to be just a bunch of trash.